everyone, welcome to episode 2 of What's Up with Anime. And we're doing part 2 of Naruto. So this is What's Up with Naruto, and there's so many questions that Nat and I have about this anime. The first episode we just kind of did like a general overview of the anime and our thoughts and like how we got into anime and what we like about anime and what we like and didn't like about Naruto. And now in this episode we're gonna talk a bit more about the characters and the storyline, and we're going to begin by talking about the arcs. So Nat is going to describe the arcs, and we're going to just do brief discussions about the arcs and everything that goes into them. And again, I have not finished watching Naruto Shippuden. I kind of got distracted with My Hero Academia. I wrapped up My Hero Academia up to the end of season 8 because literally the day after we recorded episode 1 of this, they released the episode for season 9 of My Hero Academia. But I was like, I want to savor what I saw in season 8, so I haven't watched that yet. So then I got distracted by watching Black Clover. So I started back watching
Yes, I
Black
love that show.
Clover. There's so many similarities between Black Clover and Naruto, and I
Yeah.
saw a couple people post on Instagram talking about, oh, there's not that many similarities between Black Clover and Naruto. I'm like, that's not true. There is a whole bunch of things very similar to between Naruto and Black Clover. But we will not
Yeah.
really get. Well, we probably might get into that today. But we'll first start talking about the arcs. But first of all,
Hello, everybody.
she's like, I'm gonna so mature.
Yes. So we shall be talking about, we're just going to go through the arcs, not the filler arcs, of course, because they were all garbage for the most part, and unnecessary. But we're going to start with the first arc. Technically, they don't include like the first sort of like I guess they can. I guess it's included in the Land of Waves, which is weird. But you know when they start Naruto with the whole stealing the scroll and like Aruka getting hurt, and then Naruto passing, and then being put in Team Seven, and then they go on missions. But this is like their first official like I think sea mission or something like that.
Mhm.
Because for the most part, it seems like they're just like chasing cats and doing like menial like jobs and chores and stuff like that around the village, which is what like new Genin do, right? But this is like their first kind of like mature mission to the land of the waves, and it's an escort mission that gets ranked as a C, but I think it really should have been an A based on what we find out in it. And we find out like it's more of an introduction to the character. So we find out about Sasuke and his thirst for, revenge and vengeance, and Sasuke and Sakura just being about Sasuke, nothing else. And Naruto, with his loneliness and finding family with Ruka first and now with his team. And we get introduced to Kakashi. We don't really know much about him. He just kind of badass and doesn't show a lot of skin. So they go to the land of waves, they meet Zabuza and Haku, and we were introduced to Talk no Jutsu, which is like Naruto's famous move where he just talks to villains and gets them to see the light of at the end of the tunnel. And Zabuza at the end dies, but as a G, I guess. And him and Haku are reunited in the afterlife or something. I don't know. But what did you think about the Land of Waves?
I like the Land of Waves because it kind of like, again, for some me not having really any in-depth knowledge of Naruto, it did this arc did, I think, a really good job of introducing us to the type of characters we would see, like for instance Zabuza and Haku, and basically the power dynamics within the realm of Naruto, because Zabuza, like, he is a fighter, a martial artist, just like Kakashi, and he also has the ability to to push his, I think a lot of his part was physical limits, because we saw how he was basically like, I don't have my arms, so I'm gonna just take this sword up in my mouth and just like lay waste to people. And which again is a very common theme in anime that I realized, because it happens in Black Clover with Asta, and it
Mhm.
also happens in My Hero Academia as well, where the characters, they
With
become disabled, they
Izumi.
can't use their arms,
Yeah.
and they're like, I'm just gonna put this sword in my mouth and just go ham on everybody. But also with Haku, this is where we see, you call it you call it
Talk no jutsu.
Naruto's talking jutsu, where he basically he's basically I referenced it in the previous episode where he's basically like a messiah figure, where he talks to people and like they see the light. And Haku is kind of like that, but Haku was different in that Haku knew exactly why they were following Zabuza. Like, because, and again, this is a theme that is very prevalent across Naruto, where literally all the villains are villains because somebody abandoned them in the past. And and like Haku, like she was abandoned, like he, Haku was a boy, he was abandoned as a child, and was feared because of his power, and which had to do with like mirroring and ice and that kind of stuff. And like Haku is actually the person that really gets to get Naruto to really start thinking beyond himself. Because up to this point, and even now, even in the where I am in Shippuden, like Naruto is still an extremely self-centered character. He's extremely selfish. Everything revolves around him and his wants and his desires, which is to become Hokage. And he doesn't. The only reason he wants to become Hokage is to be admired, to be acknowledged, to be seen as someone on par with the other Hokages, without even considering fact like what does being a Hokage mean technically and realistically. But I like this art because it's an introduction to the world of Naruto and like the power dynamics and the type of characters we would see. And we will unfortunately see these characters repeated ad nauseum throughout the entire show. You would have you have the Zabuza archetypes, the Haku archetype, then the villain, the sub villain archetype, which is like the in this one it's like the boss, the mob boss who's running the town, and have the townspeople scared of rebelling, and then they see like Naruto being like, oh, he's the Messiah, basically, and saying we can fight if Naruto can fight against our this thing, we can pick up arms finally and fight. So it also is very much of like a almost I was almost a white savior archetype, except for the fact that it's a Japanese anime, but it's very much of the whole thing of this one person can get a whole ton of people to finally get some backbone to fight for themselves instead of like finding backbone for themselves just like on survival instinct. So yeah, that's what I think about the Land of Leaves.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it should have been, and I'm never gonna say this ever again about any other Naruto, but I think it should have been longer because I think that we should have seen Team 7 on more missions. I think we should have seen them bonding more as a group and a team, and I think we should have seen more of the other teams too to get a feel of like what it means to be a Genin and how they go from, this idealistic view of what a shinobi is and what it means to be part of the Leaf to like actually escalate to something like Land of the Waves where people are like almost dying.
Mm.
I think that would have been better instead of having all of those fillers at the end with them going on these missions that are just unnecessary at this point because we already seen the big things about them and all these big moves, right? So I think that would have been my only suggestion for it. I do think the Land of Waves is effective, but because I don't really understand, I guess, how close Sasuke is to Naruto to risk his life for him and like all this kind of stuff that happens when they're fighting because we don't see it, right? We don't really know. A lot of like we talk a lot about like or I'm going to talk a lot about talk no jutsu, but I do feel like the show is so much about talking and a lot about showing. And the stuff that they do end up showing is just a nonsense at the end of the day for the most part. So I do feel like it didn't really ring as hollow. And it rings hollow, I guess. It didn't really ring true. Especially since like you've been watching My Hero Academia. You're much farther than me. I just finished season 3. And like watching them in the tournament versus watching them when they went on that camping trip and those villains were after them, like that's what I needed to see. I need to see them doing things that were like challenging but fun because there's no real risk to like
Mm-hmm.
actually be at a part where you're like willing to risk your life, not just, to save yourself and your teammates, but like this random kid and like, the world from these villains. And I needed to see that kind of escalation where in Naruto there wasn't any. And that was my major problem. I do think Zabuza and Haku were very effective. We got to see Kakashi doing his thing and like seeing the difference between his power and the Genin's power, which is important. So, for power scaling and things like that. I do think that worked really, really well. But, it's not, like the story itself, it just felt a little empty.
Mhm. I agree. That's one of my things. The thing that I wondered about Naruto, especially the Shippuden arc, is if they realize, oh wait, we forgot to actually build out the world of Naruto in the first arc, and they try to fix it and retcon it in Shippuden because there's so many episodes in Shippuden which are filler episodes, but they're not just filler episodes, which is typical for anime, but they're episodes that give us the backstory that should have been given in the first season. You know, it's like they realize, wait, we didn't actually show why Naruto, as you said, why Naruto feels the way he does about Sasuke. And even then, even in those filler arcs in Shippuden, they really don't get into that because the thing with Sasuke and Naruto is like Sasuke was always cold to Naruto. You know, he was always distant. He always kept himself apart from Naruto emotionally. Yes, there's moments where he showed glimmers of warmth and you can see that he wants to be friends with this boy and he
Right.
can't quite do it because of this oath that he made to like hate people so that he can get stronger to get revenge against his brother. But there's nothing even in those filler arcs that really solidifies why Naruto should care so much about Sasuke. You know,
Right.
we understand why because Kakashi, we understand why because Kakashi is their sensei. He's their teacher. He's the adult, and he knows that he has failed Sasuke. He knows that he, as their teacher and as the adult and as the person with responsibility, that he did not reach out to Sasuke the way he should have. So I understand why Kakashi feels the way he does in supporting Naruto going after Sasuke. But we don't know why Naruto feels this way. There's nothing like there's no real interactions between them like being friends. And the difference between and I'll point it out where you can see they kind of realize they made a mistake in shipping an arc is in the fights with Madara. Oh my, I also let me go look
Madara?
at it. Madara and the first Hokage,
Hiroshima?
Hiroshima. We see them
No, no,
build up
that's a place in Japan. That's where they dropped the bomb.
Hiroshima, but the character's name is I think the character's name is actually a reference to that.
Oh,
Let me look
okay.
at the let me look at his
Hashirama,
name.
Hashirama, that's what it is.
Hashirama,
I
right?
was like,
Hashirama.
I know I'm around it. I just could not remember the whole thing.
Exactly. His name is always tricky for me to remember because it is so close to phonetically, it's so close to Hiroshima.
Right.
But yeah, Hiroshima and Madara, we see them actually develop a friendship. You know, we see them skipping stones. We see them having intense conversations about their life, you know, about losing their brothers, about the war, without even them knowing cognitive or consciously that they're enemies. But we see them have this discussion. We see them have these discussions about what this war is doing to their families, what this war is doing to their friends, what this war is doing to them. You know, we see them develop that friendship. We see them fight, and we see them be rivals. We see them be arch enemies. We see them come to an agreement. You know, we see them. You know, we see them have plans for a future of like what they wanted Hidden Leaf to be. We
Right.
got none of that with Naruto.
Nope.
Nope, we got none of that in Naruto. Like I mentioned, like one of the reasons I really like Gara as a character is because they build out Gara so much, right? Like he develops and he grows as a character. Even Sai grows as a character. Sai went from being a blank, literally a blank slate, a blank sheet of paper, to having like this emotional growth and cracking jokes, and we see his backstory with his brother and like having this book, literally this book representing their relationship of being on two opposite ends of the spectrum and coming together to hold and shake hands in the middle of the book. You know, we see him have this talisman of what he wants relationships to be like. We see Shikamaru grow as a leader. We see him learn how to strategize with his father, how to develop like how to become a leader, but also how to be a follower. We again got none of that with Naruto, and I and that yeah we haven't we're kind of going through the other arcs, but that is what the first arc should have been about. The first arc should have been about building that foundation of who Naruto is, who these characters are, who the relationships, what his relationship to Sasuke is, because the entire goddamn show is about his whole
Obsession.
obsession with getting Sasuke back. The entire purpose of the show is him trying to go and get Sasuke back. We don't know what he thinks about Sasuke. We don't know. We don't even see him. We don't ever see him have conversations with Kakashi talking about Sasuke. We don't see him have conversations with Jiraiya talking about Sasuke. We don't see him talking with Tsunade talking about Sasuke. We don't even see him actually to having a conversation with Sakura talking about Sasuke. And I mean in depth, deep conversations. All they talk about, we have to get back Sasuke. We'll do everything to get back Sasuke. Why? 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 What does Sasuke mean to you? Tell me a story of you two chasing butterflies in the forest. Tell me you have those kind of memories. We don't, and that boggles my mind because that is literally what the first, second, and third arc should have been. And there's so many Guard episodes
Yeah.
where they could have done that and they didn't.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's why I say like when I just like I do think in that first arc, The Land of Waves, we should have seen team building. We should have seen people getting closer and becoming, and I do think in Shippuden they have parts at the end where they kind of retcon it, where Naruto saw Sasuke by himself and he wanted to go and talk to him. And he's like it was real weird talking about, I would like giggle to myself when I thought about talking to you, Sasuke. And I'm like, okay, just
You
make
know
out.
why?
But
You're just go make up.
But yeah, so we'll get to the next one. So the next arc is widely regarded as like the best arc of Naruto, which is the Chunin exams.
Mm.
And that's basically, I mean, I think it's self-explanatory. It's an exam to become a Chunin, which is a step level up from Genin. And it's basically what every shonen anime has, which is a battle royale tournament kind of arc. And this one is was with all of the all the hidden villages, sorry. And so, we had people from the sand and from all these other places. Obviously, the sand was the main kind of focus for the outside of Konoha, because that's where you meet Gara and Tamari and Kinkari, who are the children of the Kage of the Hidden Sand Village. And, we see that Naruto's not the only person who's a Jinchuriki, because Gara of the Sand is also a Jinchuriki of the Eight, Shukaku. And I remember Shukaku's name because Shukaku is a petty ass fucking bitch. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Shukaku bullied Gara, like babyface Gara, for no reason, just because he could. Like, I'm sorry. Shukaku is like, I was like, I don't think you should be bullying people for sure. But every time he came up and he was just like, I hate you. I'm gonna kill everybody if you go to sleep. I would just start to laugh because I was like, this is so ridiculous. Like, why don't you leave that baby alone? But also, it was really funny. So, yes, Gara at this point is kind of crazy because of Shukaku, because of all the bullying, and also because like his village is evil. Like they were tormenting and bullying him too for no reason because his mom, passed, and
Mm.
we did see in that backstory where his uncle, I think, was like taking care of him, whatever, and then but betrayed him as well too. And so like Gara had like a really sad life, and it made him like very unstable. And so the highlight of the Chunin exams, in my opinion, are two fights. So the Neji and Hinata fight and the Gara and Rock Lee fight. And I think Rock Lee versus Gara is probably heralded as the best fight of the Chunin exams because it wasn't so popular that it gave Naruto's like besides like Boruto only spin-off because Rock Lee had his own show, right? So, yeah. And basically, he opens some of the gates and it's fantastic and amazing because I think personally, what Naruto was trying to be in the beginning was a story about hard work versus, inherited abilities, inherited, um, you know, strength. And
Mm.
so you had people like Rock Lee and Neji who were very, very good examples of hard work, when fate is against you. Rock Lee because he had no jutsu, like jutsu powers or anything like that, and Neji because he was basically a slave. He had that birdcage thingy and seal on him, to make him subservient to the main branch family, which is bullshit because his dad and his uncle are twins. So I don't understand why like you could even have a main and non-main. You guys were created from the same sperm and egg, like basic biology. But anyways, I digress. And so I think that then also too you had like Hinata, who was like doing her own character arc, being the shy, stuttering girl who liked Naruto, but trying to find her way, and trying to find her inner strength to battle Neji. Not because she wanted to beat Neji or anything like that, but because she wanted to prove that she wasn't useless, because that's how her family saw her, because she was not as good as Hanabi, which was her younger sister. And so I thought that that arc was pretty good at, developing these kids and bringing them forward. I think it had like a lot of group scenes that were really fun. I thought that even the Ino and Sakura fight was pretty interesting because at least, they were fighting. And it wasn't like, even though it kind of was about guys, it kind of also was about their friendship had been broken up because Sakura's a bitch. And so I think that
Hmm.
was like really important as well too. And obviously other things are happening at that point. With Kabuto and the mark or the seal on Sasuke, the curse mark on Sasuke, that's what it was. And so, we're starting to see things sort of ramp up a little bit because there's like a lot of stuff is going on to challenge these kids, and some mysteries are coming up. And, it kind of leads into Konoha Crush, which I think is like kind of tied. I think those two arcs are really close together. I don't think you really kind of look at them as separate because Konoha Crush really delves into Orochimaru, who's a Sannin who used to be from the Hidden Leaf. He, comes back to beat the Hokage, who was his sensei, mind you. And he defeats Shirzin, um, Sarutobi, which, fine by me because he was a fucking awful Hokage. I mean, he was good in some ways because he took care of Ruka.
Ultimately, he was good as a Hokage in protecting the village as a strategist.
Yeah.
But when it came to like looking after the people themselves as people and
Right.
individuals, he sucked.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a weird balance. Like he took time out of his busy day, because Hokages are always working, right? To like
Yeah.
go and eat with Naruto and with Iruka, right? But
But you still have
but then
Naruto living in the
he
house by
that's the
himself.
thing that was so weird. Like like Iruka's parents died. You didn't put him in a house or something like and
Like have him live with you. Like
adopt?
why would you
Yeah.
not have him live
Like
with you?
because the thing is, okay, you can't have Naruto because apparently no one was allowed to have power or control over the Jinchuriki, would like do something about the balance in the village or some shit like that. But Iruka was like just a random kid. Like you could have just adopted him. But also it said a lot that your son was like, fuck you, and left to be like a guard for the daimyo. So I don't know. I was kind of just like, yeah, you didn't seem like you had that great of a relationship with your son. Him and Konohamaru, yeah, they kind of had a thing, but Konohamaru was also a kid, so like he don't know much. But anyways, R.I.P. Hokage, whatever. And then they have that big battle in the woods between Naruto and Gaara, where Naruto does his talk no jutsu while also showing some hands this time and being like, "We're the same." Yeah. And Gaara finally is like, "Yeah." And then, they became friends from that moment on. So how did you like the tuning exams and and Konoha Crush?
The Trinity Exams is I think one of my favorite arcs. It probably is my favorite arc. A lot for the same reasons as you said, but this is where to me like let me look up the Wikipedia for a minute because because we know like the anime is adapted by Masashi Kashimoto and no sorry the manga is originally written by Masashi Kashimoto, but the anime itself, I'm looking for to see who the remember the name of the adapter because I want to also see if there's anything I can find on the fight choreographers for the anime because one of the reasons I love this arc is because of the fight choreography. The fight choreography for this arc is so tight and so well choreographed, and the fight between Neji and Hinata are really interesting because of the types of powers they have.
The gentle
And
fist style, yes.
the fight style they have is very unique, right? They use a Byakugan which allows them to like see things in like an almost complete 360 arc, and the color scheme changes to black and white and gray, so it's almost like echolocation, right? So it's like how would you I like that they like I think Kashimoto that his strength is fight, is writing fight sequences. Like he should have been a writer for action movies. Because the way how he just like as a writer comes up with like how would echolocation work as a martial arts style. That's what Kanata and Neji use, right? So I love seeing that how that came to life on screen. So like again, kudos to the animators and the fight choreographers and stunt choreographers who worked with them to figure out how these fight sequences would look. And this is where you got to see Hinata again grow a little bit because before she was everything out of her mouth would be like Naruto, Naruto. They even kind of poked fun at it. And like something one thing I thought was interesting about Naruto is later in the Shippuden arcs is you would get like these little snippets at the end of the episodes where they'd be doing um like almost like the characters are actors. So you like they'd be doing like reenactments of their scenes and coming out of the room how was this shot scene and like they were actors performing their characters. And there's one where they kind of poke fun of how Hinata is always talk. Every word out of her mouth was Naruto, and they were saying, "Say that, say Naruto like you're angry, Naruto. Say that so you're scared, Naruto." Like, and they thought it was funny. But in the arc, they kind of like that's where she stops only talking about Naruto. Naruto stopped being the only word out of her mouth, and we see her to have this discussion with Neji about her. I don't hate you. You know, she's like, I admire you. I want to be like you because I admire like how you've grown past your circumstances, right? And that's when he begins to really realize I let the issues that I have with these adults affect my relationship with her because she doesn't have any animosity toward me, right? And again, that you mentioned, Ino and Sakura have that fight, a fight that was necessary. Because Ino was like, "You have fun. You left me for this fella that you see after one day. Like seriously, like she was like, I like Sasuke too, but I didn't like him enough to destroy our friendship. But you on the other hand was so trifling. You saw me as an instant competition for a man who didn't even want you, right? So like, I'm glad that got that her lick back on on Sakura that way. And then of course my favorite fight sequence is the one between Gara and Rock Lee because it's so intense. It is so well choreographed. And I talked about the echolocation for Neji and Hinata. So the thing that is interesting with Rock Lee is he is very much him and Guy Lee are very much inspired by Bruce Lee, and
Yes.
me being a fan of martial arts films my entire life and as well of Bruce Lee films, um, I loved when his character was introduced. I'm like, there is, and I remember I texted you. I was like, wait a minute, this guy is a character, is a play off of Bruce Lee, and I was like, even in my head, I couldn't call him Rock Lee because it was too close to Bruce. I kept thinking of him as Bruce Lee, but like, I love that his character, like the fight choreography for him, is very much leading into Bruce Lee's martial arts style, and watching how like this character just like went from being happy go lucky to super intense the more he leveled up and when he opened up his gates. And the thing is with his character is who Naruto I think is supposed to be, where he's like, I will become this ultimate fighter no matter what people tell me. You know, like I may not have the ability to use all of these jutsus. I can only use ninjutsu. And he's like, but I will reach past my limits. He's kind of like how what's this the guy in Black
Asuka?
Clover said surpass your limits.
Oh, Yami. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always
Yeah.
like surpass your limits. That's kind of like what Rock Lee and Guy Lee are, you know, they're always like surpass my limits. But he's also to me, I think what makes me really like Rock Lee as a character is that he's very much like Midoriya Deku in My Hero Academia, where he's the one without all of these inherent special powers, you know. And he's like, I may be a regular quote unquote human, and but there's something special in and of it about that in and of itself, you know. He like, I know my limits as a human being, but I'm still also gonna try to surpass them, you know. And like he earns people's respects, and and like the thing with him is he's not even he doesn't even care what other people think about him. Very much unlike what Naruto is. Bruce Lee is like, I only want Guy Lee to care about me. He's like, as long as my sensei is happy with me, I don't care what anyone else says, you know? And when he has that fight with Gara, that's when Gara's his mask begins to crack because he was like, I was looking down on this guy as this person that I want to kill because Gara was so emotionally traumatized. He was like, I need to kill everyone because he was so emotionally damaged. But that's when he realized, wait, this guy is kicking my ass and he's not even he doesn't even have any special powers. And then watching the fight style of guy of I'm gonna say Bruce Lee of Rock Lee against Garrett's fight style. Garrett had to get physical because normally, you know, he would stand up with his arms crossed and let his son do all his defensive tactics for him.
Right.
No, Garrett had to actually like get physical. He's like, wow, shit, I can't just stand here and think. He's like, he actually had to get down and dirty. And I love that with that thing. So that's why I think these fight sequences in the Chunin exams, and I would also say the Konoha Crush fight sequence and the one between Itachi and Sasuke, I think are really well choreographed, and as well, of course, the one between Kakashi and Obito. I'm so glad I actually I watched that episode before we began recording because that fight between Obito and Kakashi, I think, echoes the fight
Beautiful.
between um, Neji and Hinata. And the
Yeah,
reason I say it echoes that fight is because we get to see the fight from both perspectives, and we see them going back and we see them jumping back and forth between who they were as kids and who they are as adults. But to me, this is where you can see like the fight choreography in this film, in this show, really shine. And I this is the one time I didn't mind when they had to go backwards in time, because the other fights when they went back in time it destroyed the entire flow of the show. But with
right.
this one it made sense because these are two, they were friends and now they're enemies and they're battling themselves as friends and as enemies, and like they want to get back to their friendship but they can, and like that, I really like how that fight was structured. And it made me think again of the fight between um why do I never remember these people's names? Azula and what's his
Zuko?
face? And Zuko from
Oh, from Avatar. Yeah.
Avatar. So like that fight sequence is very much to me reminiscent of Obito and Kakashi because it's about there's so much more emotional intensity in these fight sequences, and those are the ones that stick with me for out of Naruto, where all the other ones feel just like very forgettable. So that was a lot, but that's kind of like where I think the Chunin Konoha Crush, that whole entire no sorry, and Chunin exams, that's what makes that one arc, because it was from episodes 20 to 67, really stands out. That was a bit of a long ramble. I apologize.
That's okay. Okay, so I mean, there's only two actual arcs left of Naruto that are not filler, and so it's the search for Tsunade, which I think is not. I don't think it should have been an arc. I didn't think it was that important. Uh, I mean, like, yeah, having Tsunade there is important because they needed, not to have like Donzo or any of those loser old people on the throne, so to say, so to speak, so to say, yeah. But I do think that it ended up being like boring. Like, I don't know if it was just me. I just felt like introducing Jiraiya and then Tsunade as the drunk gambler and like kind of that history with Orochimaru. I think like it really ruined the flow of Naruto because it really didn't have much to do with what the story should have been about next. Like if the next arc is the Sasuke recovery mission, right? Which we'll get into, then why are you not building more connections or displaying more connections with Sasuke so that people have a reason to want to recover him? It just felt like this arc was unnecessary, I think, in a sense, or it should have been shorter and it should have been maybe something else should have been in the place of it. And then,
A lot of the
yeah,
Akutsuki episodes to me are filler episodes.
yeah,
A lot of them serves no purpose. Like for instance, the one with the guy who, and the thing is, a lot of these episodes they also kind of ended up being references for the final big fight in Shippuden, because the Jinchurikis um of the other tailed beasts ended up being the characters that Naruto meets along the way, and I just thought
right.
that was like so convenient. That's to me that was when they kept revealing them, I was like, this is like I'm like, come on, writers, you guys are better than this. It's kind of like, and the reason I say that is because something bugs me a lot with a lot of Asian dramas, and it happens particularly in Chinese period drama, in Chinese dramas and Korean dramas, where everyone is connected. Like you have millions of people around, but somehow you just happen to meet the very people along the way that is going to end up being the Jinchurikis. Really? Seriously? And that bothered me once they were revealed. I was like, serious, like the guy that blows the bubbles, like he's a Jinchuriki.
Yeah.
Really? I was like, really?
Was
I'm
it
like, come on now.
Urukata or something like that? Is his name, I think.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
was like, and then like I was like, and like so much of it was just so I was like, a lot of these episodes could have been cut or they could have been condensed. Like the whole thing with Tsunade, searching for Tsunade, that could have been like 2 or 3 episodes. It
Right.
did not need to be an entire arc,
And it did
because
not have to have that battle.
we did not need to have that battle where she nearly gets Naruto killed because she's afraid of blood. I'm like, come on now.
We'll get to the last arc of Naruto before we get to Shippuden, and that is the Sasuke recovery mission. Sasuke, has found out that if he wants power, he's gonna need a little bit more than what Kakashi has been teaching him and what the leaf has provided. And Sasuke's whole thing is vengeance, and he needs the power because he did meet with Itachi, and Itachi was basically like, "Ooh, you're still a basic bitch," and that kind of set Sasuke off, and he had that big fight with Naruto, where they almost killed each other, basically, for the first time, I think. And
Mm.
so Sasuke's leaving. Sakura notices something's up because she's a stalker, and then she tries to get him to stay at the Leaf or take her with him. And I want to say something about that, okay? Just okay, Sakura is 12 years old. I get it. We all were really stupid at 12 years old. So, I mean, I'm not going to be like harping on that too much,
Mm.
but a lot of people think that Sasuke is really mean to Sakura. And I'm just like, well, if somebody is constantly trying to speak to you, touch you, have you look in their direction, is touching, and like she wraps her arms around him, even though he never told her to touch him at all, uh, would you not be rude to that person to get them to leave you alone? Is all I'm
I would be.
saying. Because the thing is, if the genders were swapped, and this was the other way around, say it was Minata from like my hero, who I hate, and like one of the female characters, whatever. You guys like there would be think pieces to this day about that, okay?
Wait, which character? Which
So
character in here is which?
Minata, he's the short one who's always like trying to perv on the
Oh,
girls.
him,
Yeah, he's
the
annoying. The bald guy.
bubblehead. Oh,
The
he
bald guy.
annoys me.
Yeah.
He's a pervert, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why? Because he's a teenager. Why is he?
Oh no, no, that's like a Japanese trope thingy. It's
It
in
is
every
because
anime, there's
there's
one
also
of
one in
them.
Ast in
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. So I just have to say about that is that like a lot of people are really nasty towards Sasuke for it, and I'm just like, well, he never showed her anything but regular, degular friendship. And even and that was like the Sasuke version of it. So I don't think he owed her anything. Yeah, he probably shouldn't have like hit her so she knocked out or whatever. I think that's what happened. I don't know. I can't remember. But like and left her on the bench. I do think he should not have left her on the bench like that, like as a child. But also he is also a child. So it's not like they're both making very, very fucking poor decisions here, okay? And then Sasuke leaves, and then Tsunade and them were like, okay, all the boys go and rescue Sasuke, not the girls. Sakura already got knocked out, and she's the best of you, so we're just gonna leave you guys here. And so the boys went, and I actually did kind of like the fights here. I didn't, I mean, I like Shikamaru's fight when Asuma comes to save him. I like Choji's fight when he becomes the butterfly, and I like Neji's
mm,
fight. I Kiba annoys me, so I can't do it. And then obviously the final battle of original Naruto is between Sasuke and Naruto at the Valley of the End, where Hashirama and Madara's like statue, some rock formations are still there. And if there's one scene of Naruto that is going to be flashed back to a billion times in Shippuden, it's going to be the one at the end when Naruto is knocked out and Sasuke's looking down at him and the rain is dripping down both of their faces. And yeah, that's how it ends. Sasuke leaves to go and join Orochimaru and becomes an I don't think he officially becomes like a villain of the village. I think they kind of just consider him lost at this point. Like he's not actively working against them, but he's just not there. And so, yeah, that is original Naruto. There's a lot of filler after that, which is not really that important, to be quite honest, guys. But what did you think about the Sasuke recovery mission?
the Sasuke recovery mission is that's the okay. So this one, I think it was this sequence, one of the episodes from this arc was when I first, I think was when I really became aware of Naruto because it was when people started doing like the whole Naruto run on social media. Like
Yes,
it was the scenes that I saw a lot on like Tumblr and on Twitter, and this was early Twitter. Were scenes from this sequence where them jumping through the tree tops and
right.
running across fields with their arms up behind them. And so when I think of this arc, that's what I think of. Like my first cognizant awareness of Naruto. Like I knew of it vaguely in an abstract sense, but this arc was and images from this art was when I became aware. Oh wait, the kids running, people running with their arms behind their back is a reference to this anime. So that's what I think of. But the thing with the Sasuke recovery arc is like again, it's like this is where like you can tell like he's Kashimoto. I keep saying like let me not want to. I want to make sure I get this man's name correct because I am terrible at remembering people's names.
I
Forgive
mean,
me.
I usually just call everybody by one of their names. So I
Kishi is
Kishimoto,
Kishimoto,
Kubo,
right?
like, you know.
It's Kishimoto, but I always want to say Kashimoto, but it's Kishimoto,
Hmm.
and like this is where I think he kind of began to lose his way writing the story because like again the reasonings for Sasuke leaving make no goddamn sense,
I think it
you
makes sense
know.
though. Like, I
But
think he wants power, so I think
no,
he's
no,
gonna go
no.
where the power
I
is.
but my thing is like he wants power, but like why would you think the way to get power is to become hateful when the strongest people you know are not like that? For example, the Hokages, Kakashi. Like up to this point, Kakashi was kicking everyone's ass that they met. You know, like Kakashi. Every time you see like Kakashi was like leveling up like almost like infinitely every time you see him fight. So I will be like, why don't you talk to your sensei to tell him to teach you how to become a stronger fighter? That's what bothers me about Sasuke in this entire show. Why did he never sit down and talk to Kakashi and say, this is what's happening? Why would he go and have that discussion with Orochimaru? Like my biggest problem. So I have many biggest problems with Naruto, but one of my biggest problems with this entire anime is how people are so easily convinced after one discussion. Like he decides to go and join a mad
Terrorist
scientist. That is what
organization.
right? Like he decides to go and join Orochimaru after an extremely brief conversation, and I'm like, but why?
It's because Orochimaru told him what he wanted to hear. Kakashi did not tell him what he wanted to hear. That is,
He
and
never
he's
told.
12. And
He
he's
never.
12.
But that's the other thing. Because that's the other thing with Naruto always conveniently forgets how young these characters are supposed to be because they make extremely grown up decisions when they're actually children. I'm gonna say extremely grown up decisions. Like again, he's 12. Why are you going out with this strange man who's always licking his lips like a fucking sorry, excuse my language, like a bloody snake? Like that bothers me with Orochimaru. I hate that about that character. And there's a character in Black Clover that does it too. And every time it happens, I want to just smack the character through the screen because it just
Oh,
annoys me.
Jack. Okay, yeah. I
Yeah,
was like
Jack
trying
the
to
Ripper.
remember. Yeah,
Jack
okay.
the
Yeah.
why would you name a character after a goddamn like murderer? Like that's who Jack the Ripper is. It was a real man in England, Victorian England, that was going around slaughtering women. Anyway, but I'm always like, keep your goddamn tongue in your mouth. So like every time I see Orochimaru, that's all he wants. I'm like, keep your tongue in your mouth. But I digress. But the thing with Sasuke, like the whole Sasuke recovery mission, I'm like, why is like no one actually sat down to talk to Sasuke and asked like, what is the problem, Sasuke? Let us have a discussion. And again, the reason that makes no sense is because, like, for instance, we see Bruce Lee, we see
Rock
Rock Lee
Lee.
and Guy Lee have Bruce Lee. I hope you want to call him Bruce Lee. We see Guy Lee and Rock Lee have discussions. You know, we see them have flashbacks where they talk about why Rock is so determined to become a ninja. You know, we see discussions between Shikamaru and his father talking about how will he grow. We even see Gosh darn Ino having discussions with Sakura when they were kids. We don't get to see no one sit down with Sasuke and say, "Yes, Sasuke, what's going on? What's wrong? What's up, man? What's going on, my son?" And
Which
that's
is
why
why
I
he continues to make poor decisions. Because
but my
nobody,
question is why and that's why for
nobody.
me a lot of this entire anime is plot convenience. Like the
Yeah.
writer decided I will not let Sasuke have any conversations with anyone to provide this excuse for him going off to join not one not two but three genocidal um organizations. First Orochimaru, then the Akutsuki, and then he went and did his own BS
Team
with the
Taka.
with the crazy chick and the needy guy. Three times, and a lot of it comes because Kishimoto never had Sasuke sit down and have a conversation with anyone, not once, and it was all plot convenience, and that annoys me because I'm like, this is just lazy ass writing. I'm like,
Yep.
you just were like, how am I going to provide an excuse to create a 900 episode anime where everything is either plot convenience or filler episodes? I know I'm not going to have anyone sit down with Sasuke and have an in-depth conversation with him. And it is absurd when you really think about the Sasuke recovery mission. That entire arc is what is how they justify everything that comes afterwards. Because like when instead of fighting, Sasuke and Naruto could have been sitting down and having a conversation. Even Gara and Guy Lee had and Rock Lee had a conversation after they fought. You know, where Gara was like, you
Yep.
know what, you ain't half bad, son. You know, when Gara went back home, he sat down with his brother and sister and had a conversation and said, I'm going to change who I am. Did that happen with Sasuke? No. I'm going off a bit on a rant, but that's my problem with this arc and this entire anime. It is all plot convenience and very much plot armor. I continue,
Yeah.
but continue that.
I mean, Sasuke is one of my favorite characters, but I 100% agree. I'm using the word character very loosely, okay? Because Sasuke is literally just a projection of other people's idea of what Sasuke is. I feel like we don't know who Sasuke is as a person. I think we still don't know who Sasuke is as a
I,
person.
I'm posted. I'm at episode 382, and I don't know who Sasuke is.
No,
Sasuke doesn't know who he is. Naruto does
no,
not know who Sasuke is. No one
no,
does. You
no one
know who knows who
does.
Sasuke is? The rain. The rain that the rain that washed down his face knows who he is.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with Sasuke, and I'll go into this more when we actually get to the characters, is that I just think that a lot of the show is about Sakura's love for him, Naruto's obsession with him, Kakashi's guilt, Itachi's love slash guilt slash terrorizing aspect, of the relationship. Like a lot of people have this idea of what Sasuke is, and that's the Sasuke that they're trying to save. That's the Sasuke that they love. And Adam, none of those are from people who've actually sat down and talked to Sasuke, as you said, and figured out, what his favorite food is. Well, I mean, we know it's tomatoes, but like, who he is as a person, what he likes to do on his days off. We don't know any of this stuff because the show is not about that. The show is about what Naruto thinks of Sasuke, what Sakura thinks of Sasuke, what all the characters think of Sasuke, what they're willing to do to get to Sasuke. And Sasuke just losing his goddamn mind episode after episode and being an actual gremlin and terrorist to the world. Like that's literally Naruto in a nutshell. But yeah, as I said, we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about the characters, which I think will probably have to be its own episode because there's a lot to say about. There's a lot of characters in Naruto, and there's a lot to say about it. But let's get into Shippuden. So, the Kazekage's rescue, another rescue mission, guys. But this one's better. This one is when they go to. So, at the end of the Sasuke recovery mission, Naruto goes off with Jiraiya for I think 2 years or 3 years or something like that to go
2.5.
train. Yeah, to train and become stronger. So, time skip time, every anime does it. He comes back in, they reinstate Team Seven and uh they do the bell test again, in which they win, showing how far they've come. The only person who became a Chunin was Shikamaru. So he has a little bit more responsibilities in the village, which is working up to his own sort of story arc as well too. And we find out that the Akatsuki have really been ramping shit up, and they have kidnapped Gaara, best friend of Rock Lee and Naruto. So of course they're like, we gotta go save our friend. Gaara has been captured by the Akatsuki. He has had his tailed beast pulled out, and he basically is dying. And then somebody from the Sand Village risk her life. I think her name is Shiro or Chio. Chio.
Cheeto.
Chio, yeah, she does like this forbidden jutsu to save him. So all things good. In this we do see how far they've come. We see Kakashi has also gotten a new move with Kamuya, and Kamuya, I can't remember how you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
Kamui. It's what he does when he absorbs things into that hidden dimension in his eye, in his Sharingan. Yeah, so we see him do that when he's fighting Deidara, who is a member of the Akatsuki. Sakura, oh my God, when I was watching this for the first time, I was like, Sakura is doing things. I was so excited for her. Like I was like not a Sakura hater at the time. So I was very excited. She shamed all the healers in the Sand Village by being able to figure out the poison that was used on Gar's brother, and she was holding her own as a fighter. Her and Chio both defeated Sasori, who was a Akatsuki member as well. And I think like this arc I was a good way to reintroduce us with, but also show us the growth of the characters in these years that we haven't seen them. So I thought it was like a really good arc. I think also it started to show how the relationship between the different villages was starting to mend in like not just the big, macro political way, but even on the micro level where like Chio, who was in this war with, Kakashi's father, was able to work with Kakashi, even though she has like, Kakashi's dad killed her son, or something like that in the war, in the last Great Ninja War or whatever. And so, I think it was effective. I think it really did a good job. I don't know if it's more on the anime side than maybe the manga side. Because as you said, like on the manga, like based on the Sasuke recovery mission, things were starting to like not like I think the story was starting to fall apart in some ways. Whereas I think that in this story, the way that it shows on the anime, anyways, it really was like a really really strong start to Shippuden. So what did you think?
The Kazekage's mission is I like this. I mean, Kazekage's rescue is the reason I like this arc is again we get to see more of Gara. We learn more about his backstory, about how he was traumatized as a child, how basically all the Jinchuriki, like his Jinchuriki was placed in him when he was a child, and of course against his will, and the relationship his mother had with his father, and basically his father was trash, which we see even further on down in Shippuden arc. We see exactly how much trash his dad was, and but we got to see his relationship with his siblings, like how they grew and they mature, and like he's Kazekage now. He went from being this morose little boy who hated everyone and everything and thought he was perfectly alone to learn, wait, I do have family, and it wasn't, and I like that it's not strictly a Naruto focused family. Is like he's like, wait, no, I have my brother, my sister here. I have all of these people here in Sand Village. They're my family, and like I can be their family too. And like he
Right.
has all of these children that are looking up to him, and he like yes, he of course isn't having like a perfect like leadership. Like people are still doubting him because of his past, which I like. I like that everything isn't fixed immediately. Where he's like, he's leader. It's like, you're here to save us. Like people are like, no, we remember how shitty you were as a kid.
You were
You know,
murdering everybody.
and like I like that. I like that people were like, do you remember how you were? And but then they were also like, but we're still willing to give you a chance. When he fought the Akatsuki, and when he got kidnapped, like you can tell they were desperate to get him back. Like even the people who did doubt him, they still wanted him back because he was a good leader. And like we got to see him and be a leader, and that's one of the things that makes Gato one of my favorite characters in the animes because he earned his leadership position. Again, unlike Naruto, who wants to be leader just because, Gara had to earn his position and he had to prove it and keep proving it and keep proving it to himself and proving it to everyone. And so like that's why people were loyal to him because he proved that he could be a good leader. He proved that he cared about them. And that's why I like that. I like that we got to it was very much Gara centered because sadly after that we don't really get much as Gara. Even in the big fights, battle and stuff, it's like the writers kind of forgot about him because I'm like, where's the Azukage Kages? Where's because you got the four Hokages fighting Obito. I'm like, shouldn't the other Kazakages be here too? Like, what happened to them? That's another problem with this thing. Like, it's almost like they forget who are supposed to be main characters, even side characters are mean in a way. But yeah, that's why I like the Kazakage rescue mission arc and a little bit of what happened afterwards. The Akutsuki, we didn't even really get to learn much about the Akutsuki because they still remain very much shadow characters, figuratively
Right.
and literally. I hated their character design. I hated it because it bothered my eyes and it didn't really fit the rest of it
Okay.
didn't really fit the rest of the animation style. I felt like I was every time they would come out, I felt like I was watching a completely different show. And I also just did not like the character designs because my eyes just didn't like it.
That is the first time I've ever heard that. Like, one thing about the Akatsuki, people love their motif and their out. I even have an Akatsuki sweater. So
I
yeah, that's one thing I
the
will
whole
say.
red clothes on the black thing again. I had
Yeah,
no idea what that whole motif was about until I started watching this. I'm like, oh, so that's what the red clothes are from.
right,
But the thing where they're like standing in the cavern and it's just like their bodies are like glitching, they're like
right,
specters.
right,
I
right.
just didn't like that because I
Oh,
just
okay.
didn't like it.
That's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Okay, so next is the long-awaited reunion, and that's 20 episodes, mind you. Also called the Tenchi Bridge Reconnaissance? Yeah, Reconnaissance
Reconnaissance.
Mission. So when we get the new Team 7, Yamato is the leader because Kakashi done hurt himself and he's back in the hospital. And Sai is included in the group. And Sai is at this point, he looks kind of like Sasuke, but not really. And so, now we have a new
Oh,
dynamic as well because we finally have somebody in there along with Yamato who don't give a fuck about Sasuke, which is great.
hmm.
So that was actually like a cool thing about that. And also, Kasai didn't really like, he was the blank slate. He learned how to be a person through books and stuff up to this point. So, I think it was like I think that some of the comedy was quote unquote comedy was kind of forced and not as funny, but it was a good way to, I guess, shake up their dynamics. And I mean, I think too, Yamato was important because, as we find out later on, he was an experiment of Orochimaru, and they had used some of Hashirama's DNA. Let me tell you about Hashirama. That man should have been cremated because the things they've been doing with his body after he died, like crazy. It's crazy.
Can you tell me why this anime has so much body desecration in it?
I,
Why?
you know, the fact that they
Mm.
be doing like eye surgery mid battlefield is still kind of nuts and crazy to me. Like just popping out eyes and giving people eyes and popping them back in, like
The biology
it
of
doesn't
that
make
just
sense.
doesn't make sense.
It
But I
doesn't
mean, just
make
how
any
they're
sense.
desecrating people's
Yeah.
bodies. Like
Yeah.
Orochimaru, like one of the things that makes what he does to me unforgivable is that he experiments on thousands of people's
Right.
bodies. Like he had literally multiple caverns of people that were chained, enslaved, kept in animated suspension, that were butchered, that he experimented on for his own personal gain because he wanted to
Yeah.
be immortal.
Right.
And like everyone is like, he's like, fine, and everyone's just fine with this shit. I'm like, he's a butcher. And it's the same thing with Kabuto and
Yep.
Madara. Like
Yep.
there are literal monsters. They are the monsters. They are, and that's what to me makes them the ultimate villains in this entire thing. Not because they want to beat Naruto or even, yes, of course, commit genocide in Konoha and the other villages, but also just the things they do to the humans, experimented. I'm like, these people are evil, demonic bastards, and like everyone is just, and like to find out at the end, like they just walk away. But like you said, like they like why is raising people from the dead is like the MacGuffin of this show. They're like, how do we make someone stronger? We know, bring them back from the dead and have someone take their powers. It happens repeatedly, and it begins with this whole long-awaited reunion arc. And I'm like, they should have nipped that shit in the butt right there.
Yeah, but you'd need to have a more talented writer to do that. So, but anyways, so I guess okay, let's just be real. This is the whole point of this is to show Sasuke in his new outfit now that he is on Team Orochimaru and he meets up with the gang, and he's ready to throw hands, as
Mhm.
always, because he's crazy. And Naruto is all about like, Sasuke, come back to us. You need to come back to us. And Sakura is saying the same stuff. And there's that scene where he like is right next to Naruto and puts his arm over his shoulder and he whispers to him. And I was like, that
Mhm.
is totally unnecessary. Like, why are you doing this? Why are you giving shippers more ammunition like at this point? You should not be doing this, Kishimoto. But anyways, we have that, and like as I said, the whole point is just for them to see Sasuke again and it to show that Sasuke is different. He's harder, he's colder, he's a bad guy because he's on, he's with Orochimaru. And also to show that Naruto is starting to lose control over the tailed beast that's inside of him, which is why they have Yamato because he has the wood release that they can use to sort of like temper that. And things happen, but honestly, none of it's that important, to be quite honest with you. I think like it's kind of I think it didn't need to be 20 episodes, first of all. If it was just to meet Sasuke and to show that, they could have done that in like less than 10. But they move. And did you have any thoughts about it? Yeah,
Arc was pretty much kind of forgettable,
yeah.
apart from, as I said, like the things with like raising people from the dead or Orochimaru just sticking his tongue at every chance he got, and just like, oh, it was a pretty forgettable, not pretty inconsequential arc to me.
I will say Sasuke's outfit, 10 out of 10. I'm sorry. I liked it. I thought it was different. I thought it was unique. I thought it took inspiration from Orochimaru, but it was still his own thing. So
Mhm.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Anyways, so the next arc was Hidan and Kakuzu. And they are also members of the Akatsuki. And let me tell you, when I started watching this arc, I'm like, why are we seeing so much of Asuma? Nobody cares about Asuma. And so Asuma is the sensei for Team 10, which is it Team 10? I think it's Team 10, which is
Yeah.
uh Choji Ino Shika Cho, which is Ino, Shikamaru, and Choji. And they're
Mm.
like a generational thing, relationship between the three clans. And he is their sensei, and he goes off on a mission with Shikamaru because he's now a Chunin. And I think those two guys, those two side characters who are always together, they also goes with them, and then Asuma dies. And the whole arc is basically about Shikamaru. There's like that parallel with the shoji board and like who the king is and
Hmm.
figuring out who the king is and who you need to protect. And Shikamaru basically grows up at the back end of this arc, and he also shows his brilliance with how he defeats Hidan. um and I thought Hidan's power was really interesting, with the whole Jashini. I think that was like his cult that he kind of prayed to that gave him like crazy powers. And then so Shikamaru really had to like be the genius that he is to defeat him. And for me, I also really liked watching first of all, I thought that Shoji and Ino should have been shown to be more competent on the field. I don't like how every like I like I think my one of my major issues with Naruto is that you're only allowed to win like specific types of battles. After that, you're just useless. And that really showed here because Kakashi takes them to go get their revenge, and only him and Shikamaru are good at what they do, and they're like able to like defeat things. Obviously, Naruto comes at the end and does what he does because that's it's called Naruto and that's like whatever, right? But I
Hmm.
wouldn't call it an L for Kakashi, right? So it really bothers me. Like you bring Inoshika Cho, you let Shika do his thing, you let Kakashi, obviously, because it's Kakashi, do his thing. You have Naruto come and save the day at the end to do his 5 millionth for Sengon, because that's all he fucking does. And it's like, why are Ino and Choji not allowed to be competent at fighting, but also as affected by Asuma's death? Can it not be a moment of growth for them as well? Like, does it only have to be about Shikamaru? And I love Shikamaru too. Like, he's one of my favorite, like, top 10 characters as well. But I just felt like I know if Kishimoto can only focus on like one or two characters learning something per arc, and that's why. But it just felt really shitty. I think that's kind of like how I felt like for those characters. I honestly like as I was watching Naruto, I just started feeling really bad for a lot of these characters because they all deserve better than Kishimoto. But I digress. So that's how I felt about the arc itself. I think overall was effective. It did what it needed to do. It moved Shikamaru, into where he needed to be. But everybody else kind of didn't do much. Like they were perfunctory. They did what their goals. They stood on like line A, line B, and they did what they needed to do, what they're supposed to do, but they didn't really grow as much. What about you?
I agree because I do like that this arc give us again, as I said, Shikamaru getting to grow, and we see him learn how to develop strategy. I like the sequence with um the shoji board. That's not
Yeah.
shoji, it's shoji
It shows
board,
you. Yeah.
and I like that because I one thing I like about again this is something that I do like about, especially Japanese, and I would also say, is it Japanese? Probably Japanese, and I would also say like Chinese period dramas, is when you see like they reference like their game culture and how it reflects the actual strategy in war. So I liked when like you see him playing the game with his father, and each game he may not be thinking of it, but each game with his father is preparing him to think strategically in an actual real life situation.
Right.
He doesn't know it, but his dad does. So his dad is preparing him with that, and I like that. Where like we see both him and his father learn what the kingdom is. Like, well, who's the king that needs saving? And it's not a person; it's the people, it's the village, right? And so I
Right.
like that aspect, and I do. But the thing that pissed me off is that when Asuma died, I don't even think he should have died there because the way how that fight sequence happened, I'm like he could have beaten that guy because we see that Asuma was actually way more stronger than people thought he was. Like he was
Right.
one of the top Ambu and one of the top fighters. And then like he died way too easily for me. I think he should have lasted longer in the show. But when he did die, the thing that irked me is that he didn't tell the others individually goodbye. He didn't tell individually goodbye. He didn't tell Shoji goodbye. He whispered in Shikamaru's ear. And I'm like,
Right.
that's not fair. What he told Shikamaru, he could have, and Choji could have heard because it would apply to all three of them because they're a unit, right? So I'm like, why are you not telling your group goodbye collectively, but also not imparting that same life lesson to all three of them equally at the same time? That didn't make any sense to me, right? And I think that because he didn't do that, like when later in the Shippuden when they're having the fight and Asuma gets reanimated, when Asuma's like telling Choji, kill me, kill me, kill me. And Choji's like, no, 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 no. And that's where, we saw that, is stronger than people give her credit for. Because would have been like, if you don't do it, I will. Right. And I wish she had been the
Yeah.
one to do it. She should have been the one to do it. Right? Because that would have been that's again, so that's something I think the show does feel at where again, like as you said, it's like he is like Kishimoto was incapable of developing multiple characters at the same time. Like he leaves, and it sounds plausible logistically where you say, oh, each arc is to grow an individual character, but the problem is there are too many characters
Right.
to do that individually. You
Right.
need each arc to have like multiple characters growing at the same time. So this arc should have been this arc where they say goodbye to Asuma should have been the arc where all three of them grew
Right.
individually and as a group, as a unit. But
Right.
it was only really Shikamaru that we got to see grow as a leader. And I was like, this is like, again, this is where they could have compacted the stories where we could have seen Choji and Ino's story converge with Shikamaru's in this one arc. That's what it should have been, you
Right.
know? I,
Yeah, I agree. So the next one is the Master's Prophecy and Vengeance. So it has like the Itachi Pursuit mission, Tale of Jiraiya the Gallant, and Fated Battle Between Brothers. And I honestly don't remember it. Like I know it happened, but I kind of like don't really remember a lot of it. But I guess we're getting so according to Crunchyroll, so I'm just gonna read this, okay? See if it like wakes me up a little bit here. So the series of episodes pack quite a punch because it includes the arcs that I mentioned. Naruto and Sasuke begin to look for Itachi, both for differing reasons. Sasuke does it for revenge, while Naruto does it in the hopes of eventually leading him back to Sasuke, so he can try to bring him back to the Hidden Leaf. In the interim, the arc shifts to focus on Kakashi's boyhood as a member of Team Minato, along with shining some light on his past teammates Obito and Rin. Later, Jiraiya investigates and discovers Pain's real identity as Nagato. Unfortunately, this comes at a cost, which sets Naruto off to train harder than ever before. Lastly, Sasuke finally catches up to Itachi and battles him to enact his revenge. After the battle, however, Sasuke learns the hard truth behind his brother's actions. Oh, there's a lot going on here then. Okay, so yes, that makes sense. So we saw basically the hidden rain village where Nagato and Kohan. Is it Kohan? Is her name Kohan? And that other dude. Um, the three kids that Jiraiya ran into and sort of raised and then abandoned, who became founding members of the Akatsuki. And the Akatsuki originally was to bring peace, but because Danzo is at the like Danzo's there at every single problem that ends with murder of innocent people, Danzo's always right there at the root of it. And so him and Hamzo, who I think was the leader of the Hidden Rain village, they basically fucked them over. And then that's when we got the introduction of Pain, and the Akatsuki became more of a terrorist group because they're like, well, I feel pain, so now you guys have to feel pain. And that was their whole thing. And then Itachi and Sasuke fight, though I guess it is kind of not a fight because Itachi's dying. Itachi has been like weak, and he knows the end is near. So he kind of lets Sasuke kill him, but he does the whole flick thing. So Sasuke is like conflicted obviously because he just killed his brother who he loves, but also who killed his entire family. And so that really messes him up. And then I personally think around this time, especially when Toby was like, "Oh, you want to know the real truth about what happened to the Uchihas?" And he tells him about Danzo and everything that happened. I think that's really when Sasuke went into like he had a mental break. I personally believe he had a mental break at this point, and that explains basically everything that happens afterwards because he was just bananas crazy. Okay, bananas crazy. But yes, what did you think about Jiraiya's backstory and, the battle between Itachi and Sasuke?
Jiraiya's backstory with the three young would be Akutskis. Like his backstory, him being in the Sanin with or Orochimaru and Tsunade. Again, plot convenience. Because again, that is the thing with again with Naruto is so many of the group dynamics are echoed in multiple groups. Like yes, three is clearly an important number to Kishimoto. Like everyone operates in groups of three or fours. So like the Sanin is three. San is three in Chinese. I believe is it three in Japanese too. Anyway, I digress. But it was like their group dynamics is very much echoed in Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto. It's echoed in Shikamaru, Choji, and Ino. It's echoed in Gata and his siblings. It's echoed in when Minato was older, when he had Kakashi and Obito and Rin. And it was just like I was just like we're having the exact same group dynamics and storylines play out over and over.
Exactly
So
the
that
same.
entire arc was kind of like flat for me because I'm like we're getting the same storylines over and over and over and over again, right? So when then again the Akatsuki's end up being three kids that he Jiraiya raised and taught for 3 years, I was like again, again, again. I did not care. I really did not care. And then when it came out that pain is Nagato, and then Nagato's whole reason for being pain is like I was in pain, everyone is in pain. I'm like, bitch, everyone is in pain. You didn't need to make everyone feel pain because everyone is in pain. Your pain is not special. No, everyone is suffering. Literally, the two people with you are in pain right now. So what do you mean I'm gonna make the world feel pain because I feel pain? Yes, everyone is in pain. You are not the only one suffering. Literally, the two kids next to you are suffering as well. So his reason for joining the Akutskis and then like becoming pain pissed me off when they revealed it. I'm like, because it was the same reason for Orochimaru becoming the psycho that he was. It's the same reason for Obito becoming the psycho that he became. It's the same reason for Madara becoming the psycho he became. It's the same reason that all the Akutskis became the psychos that they became. I'm like, same tropes, different characters. And
Yeah.
so that's my problem with this entire arc. It's like
Yeah.
encapsulates everything wrong with Naruto.
No, I agree. I agree. I will say like first the names were Conan, Yamiko, and Nagato.
Yeah.
Nagato. Whose names I don't know. I just always forget them because I
I
don't
always
care about
forget their
them.
names. I
It's fine.
remember none of the names of the Akutskis.
So Deirdre was the one who blew shit up. That was the blonde. Kisame, who
Mm-hmm.
who comes later? He's the shark dude. Itachi, obviously. Who else was there? Nagato, who was actually just a animated body at that point, I think.
Yeah,
And
he was basically a
Conan,
puppet.
Conan, who had like the bomb, like the papers that she could kind of mold into things, which is great. But there's actually this like one thing where Naruto fans are always talking about how she said she like planted billions of these papers when she was fighting Toby, and people are
Hmm.
like, that's literally impossible. Like it would have taken
Yeah.
her entire life to do that. So, which is I thought was really funny. And then Nagato, obviously, who was given us like 90s I smoke and I'm a British model looks. Um, and then there was Toby, who they're trying to tell us was Madara, but we knew was Obito because it was so freaking obvious. Especially because, like, here's the thing: they must think we're real dumb because obviously Kakashi has one eye and the eye just be evolving. How is it just evolving? It's not because of Kakashi. Kakashi does literally does not have the power really to like change the eye from a regular Sharingan into like a
Hmm.
Mangekyo Sharingan and stuff like that. He's not an Uchiha, so he doesn't have the power to do that. So the fact that the eye is evolving and has new powers, duh, it must mean that the other eye is out there doing stuff. You know, like I don't know. I just thought that was like
And that happening bothers me because why does Kakashi nor the Hokage ever question why that is happening? Like,
never,
why did
ever,
he never say, wait, if this if my Sharingan is evolving and growing and getting stronger, that means the other eye must be still alive, right? That never quite. No one ever questions that. No one ever answers that
never.
question.
Like people don't question things in the show. Like no one thinks, hey, Naruto's a kid. Why are we bullying him? Like nobody thinks these things. Uh, though I will say, I think one of the best episodes of Naruto is the Tale of Jiraiya the Gallant. I think that is like literally the best way that they could have told that story. And I think it does pack like a really great punch with seeing Jiraiya and like having that prophecy of, the child is gonna bring peace or whatever. And him thinking it's Nagato, but really it's Naruto, and then him dying happy at the end after he got the message out. I thought that was, and his fight scene with the six paths was pretty badass because Jiraiya's old, so we kind of were like, I was kind of like, oh, he's an old guy, he probably can't really throw hands, but he was fighting like
Like,
very
I like that he took off his shoes and he was like, you know what, these shoes are hindrance. I'm gonna kick these suckers off and let's get down and dirty. And we saw him become like the six path sage and that kind of stuff.
right,
So it was, and I did think his death was poignant, where like you get the voice over him saying, "Oh wait, I was wrong all this time."
right,
And then he does like basically the intro roll credits. The name of the next sequel is a direct reference to Naruto and the entire anime. So it was kind of a very meta moment.
right, right. And I did kind of like to see Naruto's reaction to Jiraiya's death. Because Jir I think it was Kishimoto's way of like bringing Naruto more into Sasuke's headspace because he's like, now you understand what loss is. But I'm like, he knew Jiraiya for like 3 years, if like 2.5 years max. Uh, Sasuke lost his parents and the auntie and the uncles who were running the stores in the Uchiha town. Like, I don't think those are the same things.
They're
Like I
not.
just they're just absolutely not the same thing. And I think it's kind of insensitive to have Naruto, which he does say to Sasuke, be like, "Oh, I know what loss is now. I understand." Like, no, you really don't understand that type of loss. And I don't think it's like I don't really like how people diminish Naruto's pain at the same time. Like, oh, you've never lost anything, so you don't know what it feels like, to be this sad and whatever. But I'm like, not having it at all and being bullied your whole fucking life. Like I think that is also really bad too. So I think like it's like apples and orange at that point. But yes, we'll get into characters later. Anyways, the two saviors
We
is the
might
next
do another
arc.
episode. Aren't we technically also doing the characters right now as well?
Kind of, but I think I think that there's a lot more to say about character arcs, throughout the story and
Then we
not
might need
just
to do
like,
that in
yeah.
episode 3.
Yeah, no, I mean that's what I thought we would be doing. Episode 3 is going to be characters and ships.
Ah,
That's what
yes,
that's going to be. Anyways,
yes.
so the two saviors, the arc also known as the Pain Assault. So a lot of people think the Pain arc is like one of the best arcs of Naruto. I thought it was kind of boring. I thought it was stupid. I'm not gonna lie. Uh Naruto literally at the end when Pain is giving him his backstory and being like, "Do you understand what I mean?" And Naruto's like, "Yeah, no, I totally understand what you mean, and I don't honestly have any answers for you, but I just know that you need to stop." Literally, that was like the whole speech. And Nagato was like, bet. And like that, literally, that's what it felt like to me. Anyways, I will say that that the thing that he did when he blew up Konoha was really satisfying for me. I loved watching it. Naruto's fit with that orange eyeliner, that was
Oh, when he
a
goes
thing of beauty.
into the stage mode.
Yes, thing of beauty. Thing of beauty. I love the whole look. I love the whole thing. Hinata, girl, why are you out here confessing to Naruto and trying to find pain? Naruto's getting his ass kicked and he's a much better fighter than you. Uh, I mean, I know it was supposed to be a moment, but keep in mind that after Hinata confesses to Naruto, he never mentions it again throughout the entire battle. They had to make a movie to show us why show us, I guess, his reaction to it or something. I don't know. But anyways, like there were a lot of parts of it I didn't really like. There are actually most parts of it I didn't like. But I will say I like Naruto's look. I like Kakashi getting closure with his father in the afterlife. I like seeing Iruka because I always like to see Iruka. And I thought that Sakura was mostly effective here. Like a lot of people are like she didn't fight, like Hinata at least fought, blah blah blah. But I'm like her thing now is that she's a medic, like she's helping save lives. Like I think that's just as important as Hinata, trying to have a moment with Naruto while Pain is destroying the town. Like I don't know, I just think that's important. One, well, I guess two, what soured my whole feeling for this arc is at the end when Naruto comes back and everyone's cheering for him. And I'm like, you hypocritical, nasty asshole people. Because you were all so nasty to this guy who was a child, a baby, a little baby with little whiskers, who was drinking spoiled milk in a dirty apartment, probably next to the red light district, because you guys are all jerks. And as soon as he saves the town, oh Naruto, we love you, Naruto. We love like that was when I was like, oh, Konoha is full of snakes. I don't like anybody basically here. Outside of, the people who already knew Naruto was cool once they got to know him and gave him, like none of these people. So my whole I hated the pain arc. I'm sorry. I hated it. What about you?
It was just an okay arc. Is and the funny thing to me is like it is the arc where we see Hidden Leaf get destroyed, get obliterated, but then we see like Pain atone for that by bringing back the people. His Pain is the only villain that I can think of right now who earns their redemption.
Yes.
He is the only one, and he earns his redemption not only because he brings back the people that he killed, but we see him we see that he had always had doubts, but he was more easily swayed again because these were traumatized young kids and they grew up and they were influenced. But we see him atone for that by bringing back the people and leaving them a path for of not only repairing the village, but when he gives his power to when his power is given to Gara's brother. Let me look at his name.
Kankura?
Conqueror. That's also a way that he made atonement for that. He's like, I'm gonna give you the tools that I use to destroy, and so that you can use these tools to fix. And so that's why I think that Pain and his sister, like they're the villains, and she was kind of Sasuke, where she just went along with what her brothers were going along with because she didn't want to be alone. But like we see them atone for that, whereas I don't see any of the other villains atoning for their ish anytime soon.
No, I agree. I agree. I don't remember that he gave him his power, so like as you can tell, like I was mostly checked out by the end of this.
He think of his powers when thing was because remember like his Gar's brother's a puppeteer too, right? And he start and that's does he give him his powers or does he give him the clue to figure out how to do the powers? Because the old lady Cheeto
Shield, yeah.
um she's dead at this point because she gave her life to fix Gara, but she had told um Gada's brother how to use the power, the magic, right?
Oh, you mean the
So
forbidden jutsu to bring back like a person who's died.
not only bring back a person who's there, but how to use the puppet, how to improve his puppet skills, his puppet mastery.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but like that's where I think Pain is the only one who actually atoned for the ish that he did as an Akutsuki. But apart from that, like this arc is just pretty meh. Something.
Yeah. Okay. So next we have the Assembly of the Five Kage, where the five Kage come together and, we meet them and Toby appears with Sasuke and they basically declare war on the villages. And Sasuke's a little shit as always. And we get to meet the different Kages and see their powers. And now because Tsunade, is in a coma because she saved as many people as she could, during the assault as a Hokage should be doing. Danzo's in her place, and we see Danzo kind of step out of the shadows as the villain that he is, now that we know more about him. And, the terrifying idea that he could be Hokage at this point. It's crazy. I think this is, I don't know, it's like a transitionary kind of arc for me. We are moving into the final battle where all of these enemy groups who used to battle each other are now joining together to fight a better, bigger, badder, villain. And so you needed something like the Assembly of the Five Kage in order to like display, how they come to this decision. And we do see certain things happen, like Kuru, who becomes Choji's wife, beats the hell out of Sasuke because Sasuke had joined the Akatsuki and tried to get the, I think, seven or six Jinchuriki, which was Killer Bee, who is the
Yeah.
brother of the Kage for his village, I think in the Mist or something. So, you know, Sasuke is out there, gaining a name for himself, and they're beefing now with Naruto because Naruto's like, don't hurt my Sasuke, and he's getting his ass beat, and the Kage A is like, no, I don't owe you anything, and that guy tried to kill my brother. Like, what are you even talking
Mhm.
about? Like what? I think it was finally having somebody come in and be like, what is wrong with you? That is a terrorist. That
Yep.
is not a good person. You need
Yep.
to stop. Like, even if you think he's a great person, he's out here proven that he isn't. So you need to like get a clue. And I think that was something that Naruto needed to hear. Obviously, he didn't take it to heart, obviously. But we are building up to the taming of Nine Tails and Fateful Encounters, which is the next arc. What did you think about this arc, the Assembly of the Five Kage?
There's something the five Kage. That was pretty okay. Like again, we got introduced to the other Kage. We kind of saw their interactions with Gara and like how they see him as a leader and everything. And I'll be adamant, Killer B annoys me.
The rapping, I was like I didn't understand it. I didn't.
It I mean, I like that we can see like a variation in skin tones, and like clearly some of these characters are meant to be black or biracial. Appreciate that, but the rapping,
Why
like
did the black
because
guy
like
have to be a rapper?
why is the darkest skin character speaking like he's rapping every other word? Is it
Hmm.
like a defense? Like they kind of like bring it up later in this in Shippuden, where it's like this is kind of like a defense mechanism that he developed, and then he just stuck with it. And I'm like, why? You're stereotyping black people because black people don't talk in rap. We don't talk like that. It's an art form. It's music. It's not the way people speak. We don't speak like that. And it annoys me. And he's bad at it too, which makes it worse.
Right.
Because his hair is also meant to look like it's braided
Braided.
or
Yep.
shaved down. And I'm
Yep.
like,
Yep. Yep.
and
Yep.
that character annoys me
Yep.
a lot.
Oh, I forgot to mention. I don't know how I forgot to mention. So this is where Sakura tells Naruto that she loves him and that he can stop looking for Sasuke because she wants him to
Yes.
stop chasing, because she made him promise that he would get Sasuke, and she feels like that's ruining his life, obviously, because he's getting his ass beat by people just because. And which I understand, but she decides to tell him a lie. He knows it's a lie. And then she decides on her own to drug her fellow soldiers and go off to kill Sasuke on her own. And then gets upset when Sasuke defends himself and then tries to kill her because she tried to kill him. And that leads to another reunion with Team 7 where, oh, after this is after Sasuke rightfully kills Danzo, mind you.
Mm.
And he fights Kakashi. Sakura tries to kill him again. Naruto saves her. And then Naruto says the most insane, unhinged things ever. Like, if we fight right now, we're gonna both die. And that's okay because we'll be together in the afterlife.
Some yeah, listen.
What?
That was some fatalistic family annihilator, but BS. Like that was. I remember when you told me that there was something that Sakura did that you thought was unforgivable, and I knew immediately that that's what it was, and I saw it, and I messaged you because I'm like, yeah, this is it, because I'm like, this is some BS, and like that permanently turned me off of that character because you are at war. You know that there's terrorists looking for you. You know there's terrorists looking for your comrades, for
Right.
your compatriots, your friends, your allies, and you're going to drug them and leave them
Just
vulnerable in the middle
abandon
of a
them.
forest where anyone can happen upon them and kill them. And not only did you drug them, you did it without their consent, without any prior planning. You did it in a place where they couldn't find any safety. And she's thinking that that makes her a hero because then she thinks that she's going to go off to that she somehow has the skills to fight freaking Sasuke. When you saw Sasuke in action multiple times with the Akutsuki and with other people, you saw how kick-ass Sasuke is. You saw him beat Naruto, busted Naruto's ass, leave, and this was even before he joined Orochimaru. Even before then, when Sasuke was 12 years old, Sakura at her highest could not even beat Sasuke when he was 12 years old, when he beat Naruto into the dust and left him in the ring. Like, but she thought that she somehow had the skills to sneak up on this man with a little knife
Oh,
and
she
kill him.
poisoned it. She poisoned it. That was her thing.
And she poisoned it. But then she thought, like, oh, like when he defended himself as right he should, and he was like, I'm gonna choke you out because you just tried to kill me. I'm like, do it, Sasuke, because she tried to kill you.
Right.
And she didn't even try to confront you head on. She tried to do it in a back and underhanded manner, coming at him from the back. She wasn't even bold enough to approach him face front and try to fight him face to face. She tried to do it slightly, which makes her even more low down and shisty than anybody else. Because like one thing about the other fighters in this drama, everybody else went face to face. Everybody's like, let me go toe to toe and fight. No, she went up to Sasuke behind his back to try to literally stab him in the back, and then got all offended that this man tried to defend himself. I'm like, are you for real, Heifer? And
Yeah.
then was like, oh, let me go and die and live after it together. That man don't like you. What makes you think you have the right to go and kill him? Like, that was some family annihilator BS right there. And I hated it. I hate it with a passion. And I hate that afterwards she went to Kakashi thinking that Kakashi was going to comfort her and agree with her. And Naruto, being the idiot that he is, somehow thinks that she was like, Naruto should have been like, what the hell is wrong with you? Everybody else should have been like, you know what? You can't be around us because I can't trust people who would drug me. How are you my ally and you're drugging me, leaving me out here to get attacked by whosoever will? I'm like,
Right.
you know, Akatsuki's out there collecting bodies and powers, and you're gonna go and drug these people and leave them in the middle of the forest?
Yeah. So the next is basically the officially begins the war-ish era, and there's a lot of different arcs here. Okay, I'm gonna read the arcs, and then we can just talk about the war in its entirety because there's a lot going on here. So they have the taming of the Nine Tails and the fateful encounters. That's when they started reanimating people. The seven
Mm-hmm.
ninja swordmen of the myths, which Zabuza was like one of them, and so they are, being reanimated, and that's happening. Power. This was weird because like, oh, this is a filler. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay,
the
great.
filler.
Yeah, the fourth great ninja war, attackers from beyond, and so basically that's the worst to go on. The fourth Shinobi World War climax. And then we had Birth of the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. We had Itachi Shinden book Light and Darkness. And then Kaguya starts after that. So we'll just talk about the war because the war arc was all over the place, okay? They had so much going on. None of it was happening like concur you wouldn't have the same story happen and then move on to the next story. Everything was getting cut into, cut into, cut into. So you're following a lot of stuff that's going on. They reanimated the four Hokages. So
Hmm.
Hashirama, Tobirama, Hiruzen came back, and Minato came back as well. They had Madara reveals himself. Toby, is there as well too. The white guys, white Zetsus are all over there. Um, Asuma is reanimated. Zabuza and Haku are reanimated. They bring back Orochimaru as well. Itachi's reanimated. Like, there's so much going on at this point, and I feel like none of it really stands out. Like outside of Madara beating the asses of like 100 people at the same like at once, and then also they had that big scene where the Kages all came together to fight Madara, and he still beat them as well. I kind of liked Asuma coming back and having to face his team so that they could get kind of like more closure. But I hated that once again it only focused on one character, which was Choji this time, who honestly sh was not meant for war. Like, let's be real. Like, it should have been on Ino because Ino was ready to fight. Ino was there
He
to
was
battle.
ready to murk him. Ida was like, "You my sensei, I love you and I miss you, but you got to die."
Right, exactly. Ino understood what, what war is basically. And also I hated that they reanimated the Sound Five, I think is what they were called or something like that. But all those people that they had fought all over back in the day
Yes.
with the Sasuke recovery mission, because it could have been the perfect time to bring the women and the female characters in and let them fight them this time. It was a do-over, but what ended up happening, all the guys just redid their fights to show, I guess, that they're stronger now or some shit. I don't know. It was annoying. It was stupid. We get the truth about what happened the night that the Nine Tails went free. Basically, Obito got crushed. He thought he was dying. He gave his eye to Kakashi. He didn't die somehow. Madara kept him underground. He was going crazy. He survived and, was able to, like, his parts were all working, I guess. Somehow, he had white
Obito
Zetsu.
surviving makes no sense. Like, how is how after that rock landed on him? First of all, how was he even not dead instantly? But he was still alive enough to have a conversation with both Ren and
Listen,
Kakashi and to give Kakashi his eye, and yet still he should have been dead. His skull got crushed. His
listen.
entire right side got crushed. Like his brain, his head. Like Obito should not exist. Point blank.
I, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you. So what happens is that he sees Kakashi kill Rin, but technically Rin put herself, she wanted Kakashi to kill her because they had Orochimaru or Danzo, one of these people, I don't know,
It
one of
was
these evil
Danzo.
people.
Danzo put
Yeah,
a Jinchuruki
a
in her.
Jinchuriki in her. Like, it was like a modified version of a Jinchuriki he put in her, and so she knew she had to die. And so Obito saw this, and instead of having a conversation with Kakashi, being like, "Yo, why did you kill our teammate?" He decides that he's just going to be evil and he's going to destroy the Leaf Village. So he causes the deaths of his sensei Minato and Kushina, and all the deaths that happened when the Nine Tails was released, which also further isolated the Ichiya and forced kind of got them starting to talk about rebelling because Danzo was the one who told them, even though they're the police, to stay down and not come out, which is dumb. And I don't know how anybody didn't real like, you know what? Them two old people who like were part on the council, they knew exactly what kind of person Danzo was. I think they should have died too. Just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, so we find out, he did all that stuff, but it was all for Madara, and Madara did all that stuff because the Uchihas basically they love too much and it drives them insane is kind of the canon on it. I don't know, it don't really make no sense. And so we're all fighting. Some cool stuff that happens. Okay, well, sad things that happen. No. Shikamaru's dad, whatever his name is, him and Inoichi, who is Ino's dad, they both die. So, Ino and Shikamaru become their clan leaders during the war. What else happens? Sakura literally keeps Naruto's heart beating with her hand, which I thought was pretty badass, not gonna lie. What else? What else happens? Oh, um, Guy Sensei opens up his the gates and basically almost beats Madara, which was pretty awesome to watch. That was a really good fight,
Right?
not gonna
He
lie.
was he was this close to
This close.
being Madara. This close.
Yes. Yeah. So, and Naruto meets his dad, and we find out basically that Minato could have survived everything that had happened. He just decided to die, and orphaned his son. Because the thing is, Kushina was probably going to die because of how the beast was extracted from her, and also because she just gave birth. But Minato could have just, let her die with chaining the beast. He didn't have to do that spell that took his life as well too. He just did it because, and so, I know a lot of people in Naruto who watch Naruto like say like that goodbye scene with Kushina and Minato and baby Naruto is like the saddest moment of the anime. I
Hmm.
personally was really annoyed by the whole thing. I thought that Minato should have chosen to live, rather than die. But you know what? It fits in with the world they live in because Kakashi's dad also chose to die and allow his 5-year-old son to walk in on his body. So, like these people just be doing crazy stuff, okay? Nobody has therapy in the Hidden Leaf Village, and that is clearly why they all make poor decisions. But the difference between the poor decisions that, the children make and the poor decisions that the adults make is that they are adults. So I can hold them more accountable than I can the children. Just throwing that out there. So we reach this climax where the Ten Tails Jinchuriki is a thing and Obito becomes it. And that leads to a lot of filler for whatever reason, and then an Itachi filler, which deals with his life before and after the Uchiha clan massacre, which doesn't even make sense. And then we find out, oh no, Madara was reading the tablet, and the tablet had an edit, and he didn't have a note underneath that said this was edited at this date, like our phones do. So he thought it was for real. So the whole reason that he did what he did was because of an edit that White Zetsu did. Because dum dum dum, we have aliens. Aliens have entered the chat. And so
When I read that in the wiki page, I was like, seriously? I'm not there yet watching right now. I'm at the point where Obito became the Jinchuriki. But when I read that in the wiki page, I was like, seriously? Aliens?
aliens.
Like,
So Kaguya Otsutsuki is part of this Otsutsuki clan, and they're aliens that go to planets in twos. They plant these trees to basically absorb any of the natural power or chakra, um, or whatever from that planet, and then it turns into a fruit. And then one of them kills one and then eats the fruit, and then that's how they evolve as a species. And the person who dies doesn't really die because they can plant themselves into like another body or whatever, and then they can grow from there. So like it's eternal evolution. That's kind of like what the um her people do. So she came to this planet. She was the person who was supposed to die. She said, "Nah, I'm not about that life." And so she killed the senior member of her clan,
mm,
and she was like, "Ooh, I'm here. Let me go have some sex with one of these kings." And she does, and she has kids, and that leads to the birth of the six sage paths or whatever he's called. And also it introduces chakra because she's the mother of chakra and all shinobi. Basically because her son is the one who like shows how the people how to use it, not thinking like, oh my gosh, they're mankind and mankind will really, really, really go to war over anything. And now you're giving
mm,
them tools to do that. So, well, probably poor decision making on their part. And she basically was defeated by her sons because she turned into the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, and she had this whole infinite, eternal Tsukiyomi, which basically, instead of like the fruit, it takes people and it gives them their perfect life, and it sucks the life force out of them, and she is powered by that. And so her sons, because she had two sons, defeat them, and then because she doesn't really die, they kind of just like lock her away or something. I don't know. Or, she lives on through the Zetsus. I don't know. It was one of those things. Um, they are like they had a bit of like a strife. One was like considered the sun, one considered the moon, and then they're reincarnated into Hashirama and Madara, and then they're reincarnated into Naruto and Sasuke, who are all destined to not understand each other in life. That is, and so they're always gonna fight, and that's what the point of that is. And so basically, Sasuke decides, like, okay, well, I gotta save the world, I guess. And so he joins forces with Naruto and they fight Kaguya. And then Sakura is at the top. She punches her while they, do actual things. And they lock her in like a moon thingy and like they win and they save the day. And then we get Sasuke Shinden, which is an adaptation of a book, which deals with his life after the Fourth Shinobi War. I don't know why that was supposed to be the part. Wait. I'm missing some stuff here. Okay, because so I guess in the Kaguya arc, we also have the final battle. So basically, after they beat Kaguya, everything is finally over. We're like, yes, peace, yes. So of course, Sasuke's gremlin ass is like, time to move. So he comes up and he's like, I want to be Hokage because clearly I understand how this world works because I've lost everybody I've ever loved because of decisions that you people have been making and that you keep supporting. So maybe we need some fresh blood in here. So I'm going to be Hokage. And him and Naruto fight and they lose an arm. And Sasuke has a moment of enlightenment, which I personally think is a moment of him giving up. Like he's too tired to fight Naruto anymore, so he's just like, fine, whatever you want. I'm let's just do it. And so that is the end of the story, and we then get Sasuke Shinden, and we get Shikamaru Hiden, which is like adaptations of novels, and that deals with like Shikamaru getting closer to Tamari, and also sort of like dealing with Kakashi becoming the next Hokage and kind of leading up to that, and Sasuke after the war traveling, and he never really says I like you to Sakura, but they have a scene there where people are like, "Oh, they're gonna be together forever. It's love or something." I don't know. It's not. It's not. It doesn't show that at all. But and then lastly, we have Konoha Hiden, which is the perfect day for a wedding, which I actually did enjoy, mostly because it was like slice of life Naruto. And I think that with all the characters you have in Naruto and like their personalities, I think that is what made it fun. But also it was from the perspective of like Iruka, like not knowing how to address Naruto because he's like, I kind of raised him, but he's kind of like a brother, so I don't know how, and I'm his former teacher, and we have Iruko trying to figure that out, and everybody like you see everybody kind of moving on and growing up and becoming adults and stuff like that. And there's a beautiful moment, one of my favorite scenes in Naruto, where Naruto asks Iruka to become to be his father at his wedding, which is just so it's so emotional. It's a very beautiful scene. And we have their wedding where, mind you, we have a wedding for a couple that like 300 episodes before she confessed to him and he never said anything back to her.
Not a word. He didn't say a
Not
word.
not a word. So this is the ending of it, and we have their wedding, and you see the couples because Shikamaru's with there with Tamari. Ino is dating Sai now, so they're together. Um, Sasuke doesn't come to the wedding, which I mean, why would you go to the wedding of the person you love with somebody else? I get it. But he sends a hawk, and there's like a moment where like he sends a message to Naruto, mind you. And Sakura gets the hawk and she sees the message, she smiles, and you're like, what a loser. But anyways, that is Naruto. So then there is a movie called Naruto the Last, which is supposed to be the bridge in between the those short stories or light novels that were adapted and the like final wedding. And this is supposed to show us how Naruto and Hinata fall in love. It's called Naruto the Last, and I did watch it in preparation for our recording last week. So the movie is literally just retconning all these scenes that brainwash Naruto into thinking like, oh, maybe I am in love with Hinata. And that is literally the story. because all these girls are trying to talk to Naruto, and Hinata's like, "Oh, I'm never gonna stand a chance, but I'm gonna make him a scarf." And then she gets jealous of the fact that he's wearing a different scarf, and which is stupid. But also even worse, the fact that his mother made that scarf, and they found it in like the third Hokage's stuff. Konohamaru finds it and was like, "Hey, your mom made the scarf, so you should have it." So he's wearing the scarf that his dead mother makes, and Hinata, because it's a story about him and Hinata falling in love, he takes the scarf off to put on Hinata's scarf. And I'm just like,
No.
what? What are you? What is even going on here? Oh my God. Oh my God. And then we have a moment where Sakura is like to Naruto, Naruto, you remember when you used to like me and you were all obsessed about me? You just did it because you're competing with Sasuke, right? Which pissed off a lot of people. There are a lot of Naruto Sakura shippers who like hate it. Okay. I knew they hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Uh, and yeah, that movie is one of the worst movies. One of the worst, not even one of the worst anime, like, OVA kind of movies. I've seen some really bad ones, specifically from the Dragon Ball Z era. But that had to be one of the worst movies I've ever watched before in my life. It was just really, really, really bad. And it didn't actually address the relationship between Hinata and Naruto and like falling in love. Like there's a scene where Naruto's like, "Oh, what's the difference between being in love and loving ramen?" And I'm like, you understood the love. Like one thing about Naruto, Naruto understands connections between people and he understands different types of love. And you know this because through the series, it's all about him finding and discovering new people to love and to have
Right.
connections with. So there's no way that Naruto doesn't know what it means to be in love with somebody. There's no way. So, anyways, that was my gripe with that movie. But yes, so that is Naruto the show. What did you think about the ending that you have not watched yet?
Right now, the entire war arc, the final war arc is, first of all, is going on way too damn long.
Way, way, way
And
too
one of the
long.
reasons it's going on way too gosh darn long is because of all of these filler episodes, many of which are retcons and filler episodes to fill in the things that they clearly did not think to add in the first half of the show. And but also it's just like so many things get left. And again, I understand it has a lot of it probably has to do with animation, with like the animating itself, like just the amount of hours and the time and it took to do the animation, because the shipping it arc, I think it took 10 years to air. So like this is me not commenting on that, on like the length of time. My thing is just like just the story in and of itself is all over the place. Like the five Kages were fighting Madara and the other Kages that have been brought back. And then that fight was going on really good. And we got to see Gara talk to his dad, and we found out the truth about
Yeah.
Gara and his dad. And like I really like that arc. And and then it just got stopped literally in the middle of a fight sequence with Gara about to drop like some tonnage on people's heads. The story goes to a flashback for like 20 episodes, and then you jump forward and it's not back to the Kages, it's with Naruto and the other group. And we have not gone back to the Kages yet. It's been like 100 episodes and we haven't gone back to the Kages yet. What are the Kages doing? Are they just on standby in the desert? What is happening? And the thing that makes that part not very nonsensical is that Shikamaru and Ino and Choji and all the rest of them, they were on an island fighting the white Zetsus. Remember, the white Zetsus were
Right.
washing up on shore. They were fighting them. They somehow got back to Naruto, got far inland to where Naruto is, but yet still the Kages are stranded in the desert. Why? Why are the Kages not back yet? I'm reading in the arcs you just read in, like they're gonna come back because they're gonna end up fighting Madara and whatever. But I'm like 100 episodes and they're not back yet. But yet still the people who were on an island fighting the white Zetsus aren't back yet. The other thing, like Yamato is not back yet. And Yamato is not, like, the thing with Yamato is like his whole power was used to animate the white Zetsus to like help them multiply because they made it into spores, and using his power, his wood Jinchuriki power and everything. And like Where's Yamato? Where's Yamato, people? Where is he? And the thing that makes his absence very noticeable is again the white Zetsus aren't there, which means that he should have been released from the whatever and whatever is holding him. So he should have been back by now. And also he is one of their strongest shonen. Like it has been stated, like his wood power is on par. His wood power is on par with the first Hokage, who uses the
Wood
wood
release, yeah.
that thing. I never remember the word, but the word power. So like he, apart from the first Hokage, he's the only other person in the entire story out of all of the villages who can use the wood power to that degree, and he's nowhere around. Like, why is he not there? His power would like imagine him combining his power with the first Hokage's going up against Madara. Madara's ass would have been whooped quick. So like that's what's annoying me about the final war. And but yeah, knowing that they're gonna involve the alien aspect too, it was like, why, why? And this is where I started to think this show. One of the biggest problems with this show, and it's a big problem with a lot of animes for me, is how they overpower the villains because Madara gets overpowered. And again, he's supposed to be reanimated. He not alive. So like as a reanimate, I'm like, why are you more powerful as a corpse than you were as a human being? That makes no goddamn sense. So he's overpowered. The ginger, like he then Obito, who again is again dead, is overpowered. Like he just like leveling up to an absurd degree, leveling up, becoming overpowered. So then it's like you're slaughtering all of these humans. Of course, not Naruto and his friends, but all of the other shonen getting slaughtered. And this is my problem I'm having with um My Hero Academia, where All for One is just like absurdly overpowered to insane degree, and I'm just like, this is absurd. And then in apparently it's the same thing is going to happen in Black Clover, where there's this character that's going to be able to siphon off everybody's powers and use it. So I'm like, if he has the powers of all of these people, why? Why? And that annoys me. So that's my big takeaway on like the big war. It ultimately is, I already know I'm gonna be very disappointed with it because I'm like the whole alien arc very much reminded me of Predator, where you said like where they're basically sending people to like different planets to like plant tree to get the fruit and right. I'm like, that's
Right.
like Predator. Sending their people down to go and fight the humans and then come back and be a winner and then go and parade to their people on their planet. Say, look, we conquered the prey. Um, so it's like Predator. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it like as you said, it's just there's so much going on. There's so many moving pieces in the battle. And a lot of them are just like these reanimated fights that are like redos of fights we already saw. So it's
Yes.
and I just don't understand. Like I do agree, actually, like you mentioned it and it didn't really like stand out to me when I was watching it the first time, but I was like the idea that they like Kishimoto really loves to abuse corpses in this story, right? And
I
like
don't
Haku
get
and Zabuza specifically had such a beautiful ending. You know, like they didn't need anything else at that point outside of just being alive. So what was the point of bringing them back? I think like out of the
have them die
animes,
gruesome deaths again. Why?
right, right. And like I mean, I know Sai had a sort of like he got some development with Shin being reanimated, his brother you know, through the Black Ops which was like I can't
The
remember the actual
Anvil.
name of it. Yeah, Danzo's group. So like I get it, but yeah, once again, you're kind of just like a lot of this is very unnecessary. And the alien part I think comes more from like an influence from Dragon Ball because like after Dragon Ball and Goku gets older, he's the strongest person on the planet. He has nobody who he can battle. So of course you're going to introduce the concepts of Saiyans and aliens and things like that because you need to have bigger powers and bigger villains who are more powerful, right?
But why though? Why can't they? That's my problem. It's like they can't get to a point where you can envision peace. Where he's like, you know what? I battled everyone on planet. I whipped everybody's ass. We're blissfully happy. Let me just fly around on my Nimbus and be happy. Why do we need to involve like alien like beings? Why? And they make them insanely powerful. to then
Yeah.
create more trauma for your. Oh, why?
Yeah, I mean, it's because like there's no other way for them to envision living their lives or solving any conflicts without fighting. That's literally the point of it, I think, in my opinion. Because they like it's not even like they just be battling. Like their battles are always like for humanity. And it's like, can you guys just not like have a intramural like competition or something? You know, like can you guys just not like fight for fun? Like, no, it's always, for good versus evil or some shit. I don't know. It's very strange. And I think that's why they needed to bring in Kaguya as well, because Madara Uchiha is just so powerful. Like at that point he was undefeatable, I think. So
They
they
made him too
needed,
powerful.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like they broke the power scaling was broken. Very, very broken by that point. So I think that's kind of why they needed to bring Kaguya in. And yeah, so that's Naruto. The story, I feel like overall, the story was not very good, mostly because I think the scope was too past what Kishimoto as a writer was capable of writing.
Hmm.
Mostly because there's too many characters, there's too many themes. Like at first it's all about like, because we didn't know about Naruto's like his ancestry and stuff, it's all about hard work beating, natural born talents because he's in his class had like all of these future clan leaders, right? Who had all these special jutsus that were like, clan secrets and things like that. And Naruto is this orphan. He has no past. He's weak, and he's unlikable. And so it really was about him sort of working hard and proving that he could be on their level and he was somebody who was worth noting, right? And like that's why I think Gara and Neji really represented that aspect of Naruto a lot better than Naruto actually did, especially when we get to the end and you find out like, oh, his dad was the fourth Hokage. His mom was from the Uzumaki clan, which is like a very old clan that's actually broken off from the Senju clan, which is also a very old, powerful historical clan. And oh, Naruto's the, reanimated, moon and sun or whatever thing that they had going on. Six.
Nonsense.
So like Naruto ended up being and he has a Jinchuriki. He's a Jinchuriki, so he has the nine tails, which is the strongest of the tailed beasts, mind you. So Naruto had all of these things kind of like inherited. So that's why I feel like he kind of dropped the ball. And as you mentioned before too, Naruto wanted to be Hokage not because he wanted to make the world better for people like him who didn't have family, who were alone. Like at least Asta wants to be the Wizard King because he wants to help the people of his church and the poor people who, are and the commoners who are looked down on, right? Naruto doesn't want to do any of that for any like altruistic reason. He really just wants to be noticed because he's tired of being ignored. And that was the whole idea of him wearing like orange, which is such a bright color, his blonde hair. He wants to be noticed, even if it's for bad reasons, because he's so lonely that he needs that. And the thing is, once again, if you put people in therapy or you sit down with them and ask them what they need and what they want, I feel like we could have solve so many of the problems here. And I hate that with stories where literally if people just opened their mouth and said what they were thinking, what they were feeling, and what was really happening, we could have avoided all of these problems, I do think that Naruto itself, because the world is such a rich place, there is a place for them to have a story. I just think that Naruto needed a better reason to be Hokage. And that's the thing too for all of his talk about being Hokage, I can't be Hokage if I can't bring Sasuke back. Because I mean, if I can't save one person, how can I be Hokage? So why was he not Hokage at the end of Naruto? Why is the ending of Naruto a wedding to a girl that he barely spoke to? And this is what I mean. Like Naruto itself, the story is so broken, like the power scaling, because it was so many different things at different times, and it just could not follow through on any of these things. Like Naruto isn't even Hokage at the end of Naruto. At least Goku and them got the Dragon Balls like a dozen times by the end of Dragon Ball. Okay, like okay, Dragon Ball Z, like they completed the mission. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, I know at the end of My Hero Academia, Midoriya becomes the number one hero, right? Midoriya, that's his name, becomes the number one hero because he starts the show saying, "This is a story on how I become the number one hero."
Yeah.
Like, what happens in Naruto? I don't know. I like based on what I know, based on everything that we've talked about right now, um, he's in love with Sasuke and he marries a woman. And people, because the people in his village are jerks, they all like him now that he has saved them, and not because of who he is as a person. And he really just speaks to people, and apparently that changes their mind because it changed Obito's mind, it changed Zabuza's mind, it changed Garo's mind, it changed Nagato's mind, you know. And the thing is, he's not even saying anything that like I don't think Naruto ever says anything that's poignant. You know what I mean?
He
Like
doesn't say anything that's poignant or
poetic
groundbreaking or
or
revelatory. He
yeah,
basically a lot of the things he tells people are very much about his own personal feelings, and a lot of it again revolves around Sasuke. Like the things he like, because his worldview is very very limited. He
narrow.
doesn't have a
Yeah,
worldview outside of his own experiences. Like he when he talks to people is very much he's not talking to people to learn. Like for instance, he spent all of that time with Jiraiya and he doesn't really know anything about the world that he lives in, right?
right.
He doesn't understand the politics. I'm like, you spent 2.5 years with Jiraiya. You didn't learn anything about the politics of the world. What? Why?
Shikamaru learned a lot more because at the end of the Asuma's death arc, he learned basically that who the king was, right? Which was the village, and how to pass on the will of fire to people, to the younger people. Like, I mean, he'd be acting like he was real old by the end of that arc, but he was like 15 maybe, or 16 maybe. But he was already thinking of like how to nurture the younger people in the
Mm-hmm.
village in order to make the village a better place. So like that is actual growth. Also, he had one of the coldest lines. He was like to Hidan, like, don't pray to your Chishana or your god or whatever your god is. I'm your god. Before he locked that man up in under all the dirt and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
like it's kind of weird because like comparing it to Midoriya and like Asta. Say what you want about Asta. There's a lot of things to say about Asta. I love Asta though, so I don't care. But when Asta beat Fennel, I think was it Fennel, the lion guy in the undersea village, the undersea town that they were in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
When he defeated him, one of
Despair. The guy that was all about
Despair,
despair.
yeah, exactly. He said something that I thought was really interesting for a lead character in one of these animes. Was he said, what they did was unforgivable, but can also see that something unforgivable must have happened to them to make them do the things that they're doing. And I was like, Asa's an idiot, and even he could say something like that. What has Naruto said? All of Naruto. Nothing. Nothing at all. Like
And
it's
the
empty.
thing about Naruto that bugs me is he thinks that everybody should be forgiven without ever actually earning the forgiveness. So like use Asta for an example. The same guy with despair. At the end of it, when Yami came in, spoiler, where Yami came in and like kicked that man's ass and killed him.
Right.
Not once did Asta go to Yami and say, you know what, maybe you could have given him. No, he was like, you know what, he dead, he dead. That's like the consequences because this is a battle for life or death, right? And
Right.
like, and Midoriya is the same way. Like, there is the line where Midoriya, you haven't gotten there yet, so spoiler. But there, when it comes before the big fight, when Midoriya is training and he's going through so much training, he's talking to the other member, the other all for ones, the other, who got the is off one for all, the other one for alls. Like one of them comes up and tells him straight up, sometimes the only way to save someone is to kill them.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like, when it comes down to it, will you be able to make that choice? Will you be able to realize the only way you can save not only the person you're fighting, but the only way to save everyone that you want to save is to kill this one person? Can you do it? And that was such a that was and I like that the writer put that in because that is very much a real life situation. Because it's like the trolley is there's this thing in philosophy where it's like there's a trolley dilemma. if you have one person laying on a track and you have a trolley full of people coming down, will you derail the trolley and kill everyone in the and potentially kill everyone in the trolley to save the one person that's on the track, or will you allow the trolley to keep going and sacrifice this one person to save everybody else on the trolley? And that's the dilemma she gives. And so that's where I remember I texted you and said the writers for My Hero Academia, you can tell they paid a lot of attention to human psychology and human behavior, because that is a very real world situation. Like, what will you do? Whereas Naruto isn't brave enough to ask that. Naruto isn't brave enough, and I mean, just in the entire concept of the show isn't brave enough to do that, because Naruto doesn't kill anyone.
No. I'm trying to think
He
of
never
it.
he
No.
never kills anyone. The villains get to kill literally hundreds and thousands of people, but Naruto never kills anyone because he's supposed to. He, let's say, he has this messiah. He has this very, the writer gave him messiah persona, and that's very much in line with Superman, how Superman is depicted in American media.
Mm,
And the thing is, where people say, "Oh, Superman doesn't kill people," I'm like, really? So when he goes and flings someone in a building, how much people do you think in that building that fell down that the villain got to walk out of, but the people inside didn't get to? Do you not think that
yeah.
by Superman flinging the villain into that building that people didn't die? It's just because you did, just because you're not shown on screen as dying doesn't mean they didn't die. If you look at it in a realistic way, but that's how Naruto is framed. Naruto is framed as as a Jesus figure, but also as a Superman figure, where he can keep his hands clean while everybody else does the dirty work for him. But yes, so he believes he has the right to be leader. I'm like, you are not willing to dirty your hands. Like even Shikamaru does it. Gara does it. Like Gara literally like kills people. Like he's introduced as a child who has
Kakashi
killed
does it.
people,
Kakashi,
right?
who is the Hokage before Naruto, yes, he does it as well too. I mean, Kakashi's whole thing is that he was a child soldier as well.
Exactly.
So yeah, he does it as well. Naruto, like actually, I was thinking about it because Zabuza dies from the bad
Kakashi
guys that
kicking his
yeah,
ass.
exactly, the bad guys that he was fighting with that knife in his teeth. Haku dies trying to like getting in the way of Kakashi ending Zabuza.
Mhm.
Nagato dies because his body just couldn't hold it. It wasn't holding up for much
And
longer.
he blew his body apart to be able
Right.
to bring back the
To
people
bring
in
everybody
the
back.
village.
Exactly. Madara was allowed to just fade away, basically, like all the reanimated people, because he got an ending with Hashirama. Kaguya got put into that like moon thingy, so that she didn't die either.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah. Honestly, the only people who kind of died are the Akatsuki, most of them,
And
and
everyone else around
Danzo.
Naruto did the killing for them. Did the
Right.
killing of
And yeah, and Danzo, which I mean, I don't think anybody, like any of us, like the viewers were mad about it, but I bet a lot of people in Konoha were mad that he killed Danzo,
Well,
which is
yeah, because
crazy.
they didn't know that Danzo was a dark monster, figuratively and literally, because he had the first Hokage's face in his body because he used his cells,
Right,
right? So,
right,
but like,
right,
so even Sasuke killed someone.
right,
Naruto, nope.
right. Well,
Naruto doesn't have that weight, that response. He doesn't understand that responsibility. So even when Sasuke out of the blue say, you know what, how about I be Hokage? I'm like, you know what, you why not? Because you at least understand world politics. You understand people's motivations. He understands how both villains and heroes think, and he understands the way of having someone's life in his hands and having to make that horrific choice. Naruto does not.
not at all. Not at all. Which, also he doesn't even become Hokage at the end of his show. So, I mean, Loserville. So overall, if we had to rate the story of Naruto in the anime form. We'll do Naruto versus Naruto Shippuden because I feel like Naruto hard carries Shippuden in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
How
out of
are we rating? We're using numbers or letters?
um, why don't we use letters? I haven't really done letters, I don't think, for any ratings before, so it's kind of fun to do it. Um, what would you do give for Naruto?
I really love the animation. I really love the sound effects. I think the voice acting is stellar, but the writing is trash.
Absolutely.
Um,
And pacing is awful.
and oh my god,
Yeah.
the pacing is horrendous. I wonder what the director thinks about it in hindsight. I would actually go and look up and see if he did interview or anything where he talks about like realizing, we messed up. Anyway, I I would give it a C. I don't want to give it a C plus. I would give it a B minus. But the reason I'm going to give it a C plus is because the story is it. The animation, voice, acting, everything, even the editing, and the editing not necessarily with regards to the pacing, but the editing with just like how the fight sequences and everything are edited. That is tremendously difficult. All the technical things are, I think, top notch, but the writing just kills it and nullifies so much of it. I would give it a. I This is one of the reasons I don't like actually grading stuff.
Oh.
Um, okay, you know what? Instead of grading with letters and numbers, how would
Yeah.
we say what rewatch? Would we rewatch it or would we not rewatch it? I would not rewatch Naruto. I might
Okay.
rewatch specific scenes, but the entire
Yes.
thing, no.
Yeah, that's actually where I stand on it. When I was ready to kiss the ground when I finished Naruto. I'm never going back to rewatching that
It's a
show.
frustrating watch.
It is very frustrating, and I didn't think anything would be as frustrating as Bleach, like the anime, the one that got canceled, but like this was really up there. And so I would not rewatch it. I rewatch scenes, yes, like, a lot of Ruruka scenes and Shikamaru and stuff like that, but I could not rewatch like the show itself. And I don't, here's the thing. It's not even like it's totally the animator's fault. I mean, yes, with the pacing and stuff like that, it's definitely their fault. But I don't think that there's much that they could have done to save Kishimoto's story. And so, like, at the end of it, even if they redo Naruto and they remove all the filler and stuff like that, it's still not a good story.
They would have to retcon the entire thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And maybe they will, because like with Bleach, right? Kubo is like able with this like last core the last arc of the Thousand Blood Year arc, he's able to add things that he never got to put in the anime because obviously like here's the thing, life as a mangaka is really hard. Like
Yeah.
you basically just work. That's
Mhm.
all you do until your body gives out. And a lot of them die young and they get sick and things happen. So I'm not, trying to like speak ill of Kishimoto. He still created something that I really really enjoy. Like as I said, like I have Naruto posters on my wall. My phone case is Kakashi. Like there are a lot of things about Naruto that I love, but the story is god awful. It's so bad. And I think that feeds into why there's so much fan fiction around it and why people are still talking about it because they're trying to fix it. It's like they love things about Naruto. Like you love Gaara, right? You love Rock Lee. I love Shikamaru. I love Sasuke and Ino and, Iruka. And I feel like because of there are things that we do enjoy, genuinely enjoy about it, and like the world itself is like really well done, I think. I think that leads to a lot of conversations. And so like I could talk about Naruto for forever because I have so many questions.
Right, like
So many questions.
we've been talking about it. This episode, this is how long we've been recording for? Maybe almost 2 hours. There's so
Yeah,
much to talk about, which I
right,
think again all does speak to the fact that there is also so much of it. There's
right,
just like Shippuden arc is alone is just 500 episodes, so there's a lot, and
right,
we're trying to be paid. I think by us taking our time to break down what works and what doesn't work, to me that shows that it is worth talking about because so much
right,
effort and time and blood, sweat, and tears went into making this series. Like we gotta respect that alone. Like our issues with it aside, like just so much work. Oh my god.
right.
I just like
Yeah,
just
no, I mean,
thinking about the animation process makes me weep for those people, for the teams that
right.
worked on the show.
Not just like the animation, yes, because we're talking about like 800 episodes here, but
Mm.
also like Kishimoto and his editorial team at, Shonen Jump and the assistants who are coloring in and detailing all of these scenes. Because this is an older anime, right? Before they really had like the digital aspect of it, right? So a lot of this I'm sure was done by hand. So like and inked by hand on top of that, right? So there's so much work that was put into it that, I do respect. And so, even though I would not rewatch all of Naruto, like not never. But, it's fun to talk about because there's like even just the idea of fixing Naruto, I think is like it's like a fun but long discussion in itself. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because like there's so many characters that you have to navigate. There's so many themes that you probably want to touch on, and we are gonna do another episode on characters and ships, which which is gonna be really interesting. But yeah, I think that's gonna be definitely the most fun because, the characters are frustrating, but they are also like really, really interesting. So I think that we are gonna, and the ships themselves, oh my God, like
Should probably read some more fan fiction before we by the time we record next week. I should read some more fan fiction.
yeah, you know what you should do? Go on like Reddit and see what people say are the best like ships of each, major like fix of each major ship and try to
Mm,
read those. I mean, I
exactly.
you'd have to pay me to read a Sasuke Sakura fic, but I'm
They
glad
don't
I would
interest me.
I would love to hear your thoughts on it if you do read one.
I might for this
Yes.
for the challenge of it.
I can do it. I just cannot. I'm sorry. But yes, that is it for Naruto the show. I don't know if you have
Yes,
anything.
everyone. This is the end of episode 2 of What's Up with Naruto.
Yes.
Thank you so much for everyone who I by the time I have we're recording this, I'm gonna publish. So everyone who has been listening to these episodes, thank you so much for listening. Please share your thoughts in the comments on the YouTube channel because I'm gonna post this in the on my YouTube as well. That's youtube.com/at Carolyn underscore Hines. That will be in the what's up with this anime playlist. Leave your comments there. On you can even leave comments on the Instagram on my Instagram account. When I post it on my Instagram, you can leave comments in the Instagram post. That's my Instagram is at Carrie CNH CRIECNH 12. And I'm interested to see what kind of responses we get to these episodes, Matt, because unlike the dramas and the other coverage that I've been doing for my podcast and YouTube channel, I feel like we might get a lot of interaction just because anime is so rife for discussion on social media. Like even on Instagram, like people's posts. Ironically enough, I haven't looked at any posts about Naruto on Instagram, but I have been looking up for Black Clover, and
Okay.
for Black Clover because it was announced the new season 2 is going to be premiering, I think, in
Next year.
2026. So like,
Yep.
there's so many posts that people are excited for Black Clover season 2.
Like me.
So,
Yes.
I'm waiting to see what kind of reactions we get to these 2 episode posts.
I know not kind of looking forward to it because like I am because they're always interesting, but I'm not because I feel like people who really like Naruto are really kind of blindly defensive of it.
Hmm.
So even though we've had like this really, I think, fair and nuanced discussion about the story of Naruto and how it was displayed in the anime, not the manga, because I've only read some of the manga. I haven't read the whole thing, and you haven't read the manga, right? So we can only go by what's in the anime and how it's presented to us. And I think we've been pretty fair about it. But, I guess because I see how people are online when it comes to Naruto and how, like, as I said, like they are so defensive of it. And, we might get some people who are just like trash and,
Hmm.
whatever. Kind of like K-pop fans, but
I
more
was thinking
gendered. More
this too.
gendered, I think. Because it's mostly guys who will be the ones to say that kind of stuff, whereas in K-pop it's mostly females or girls or whatever. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I am interested to see because as I said, we respect we respect the work that was put into this, even if we did not like the storytelling, which is fine. That's what fan fiction's for. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, I do hope we get a lot of interesting conversations, and comments, and like as I said, if there's anything you guys want us to talk about. Actually, probably by the time you post this, we'll have all the parts are recorded already. So I don't know if we'll really have we'll be able to take feedback in time for like part 3. But anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. because it was fun doing. It really was fun doing it and
It
revisiting
was.
like Naruto.
It was.
Yeah.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.